Life's tough, but it's tougher when you're very stupid.
Look at the light!
What about a separate rogering area as well?
Well, it depends who you're rogering. If you're rogering each other, you wouldn't need a separate area,
That's
would you?
what I mean.
You could have a communal rogering area.
This is talkSPORT. We are the two Mikes, and it's time to say a very, very good morning to Mr. Mike, a Porky, a Parry. Very good morning to Mr. Parry.
And a very good morning to you, Mike. And I have to pick up immediately on our great friend and, football personality.
Yes.
Brendan Rodgers.
Yes.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, well, I mean, it would have been very, very unlikely for you not to have done a bit of an impersonation of him.
No, I'm not going to try and make this funny or anything like that. But to say there's no embarrassment in losing 7-0 anywhere as a professional football team and a team going into Europe to represent Scotland in the Champions League is a ridiculous statement.
Well, to say as well, this is going to be an extremely brilliant learning experience for us.
Yeah.
Well, what you've learned tonight, I think, Brendan, is that you don't belong in the Champions League.
Well, what you learned tonight is you're not very good.
Yeah.
Because the whole point of this is that Celtic have been there before, and under the other managers like Neil Lennon, they actually came away with their heads held high and a great sense of achievement. Whereas tonight was... I think
it was 2-1, wasn't it? Wasn't it 2-1 a couple of years ago when Neil Lennon took them there?
Yeah, absolutely. Tonight was absolutely debacle, and I do think there's a pomposity about Brendan Rodgers, and I don't really want to start upsetting Celtic fans, because I know we have an awful lot who listen to this station.
They do, indeed.
But, I mean, black and white are different, and I think you've got to recognise when you're talking about one and looking at the other.
Yes.
Because it's quite ridiculous. I think you lose all your credibility when you come out and say, much better teams than us would have been beaten 7-0 tonight.
Yeah.
That's ludicrous. It's utter rubbish. How much better?
Yeah.
Are they saying that, maybe if Liverpool had gone there, they'd have been beaten 7-0?
Well, I don't think they would have done, would
if
they?
If PSG had gone there, they'd have been beaten 7-0. The whole idea is when you're a minnow in a competition, and I'm not being, rude or impertinent about Celtic in terms of the resources they have against clubs like Barcelona, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich. They are a minnow, Celtic. The whole idea is to actually come away with a result which makes the world think, wow, how plucky was that?
Yeah, exactly.
How well did they do? And this is just a laughable result for the manager to describe as nothing much to worry about. Much better teams than us would have got battered like this. And then he went through goal by goal by goal. Well, when it's 1-0 down, of course, then we had a chance to get back with a penalty. Well, I'd missed the penalty.
Which was a bit of an unfortunate gaffe, really, wasn't it?
Well, it's
you get a penalty at the Nou Camp, you don't really want to miss it.
Well, I think the long lad took the penalty, and his body language just before he struck the ball, Dembele was 2 paces away.
Right.
And he was, I mean...
You think he was a bit overawed by the occasion?
No, I don't think he was overawed. I think he underestimated the gravity of the situation, that you had to score this penalty to get back into the game very early on, which would have given them a springboard to go on. And I don't think he appreciated the opportunity he'd been given.
No.
It looked to me like he was taking it in training rather than taking it in the Nou Camp.
Yeah.
But I don't understand now where Brendan Rodgers goes from here. Does he say, well,
Well, there were Celtic fans on after the game saying, don't worry, I think we'll beat them at Parkhead. So, I mean...
8-7?
Yeah, well...
sorry,
well, no,
8-0 to make it 8-7.
I don't think they'd mean that they would then somehow overturn it. It doesn't matter because it's about points, isn't it? But, it will be a different game perhaps at Parkhead. But, I mean, look at Bayern Munich beating FC Rostov 5-0, right? Yeah. I mean, 5-0 is bad enough, but 7-0 really is awful, isn't it?
Yeah, but you see, FC Rostov are a non-entity team from a non-entity country.
Yeah.
I don't even know where they come from, do you?
No.
No, I don't really care. But Celtic are one of the most famous names in European football.
They are, but I mean, they're in decline, aren't they, you'd have to say?
Well, of course they're in decline, but they're still the first British club to win the European Cup, as it was, and the Champions League as it is now.
1967,
and for that reason, they are literally in the folklore of European football.
Yeah.
And, a result anywhere in Europe that anybody looks at, Celtic got beaten 7-0, will actually indicate what you've just said. How far down the old slide to oblivion of Celtic slipped.
Well, they've slipped that far down the slide because Scottish football has slipped that far down the slide. And we were having this conversation the other day. Yeah. If they were in the Premier League, they would have more money, they would be able to buy better players, and they would be a better team.
Yes.
But at the moment, they are not a good team. They beat Rangers 5-1 on Saturday, right? What does that tell you how bad Rangers are?
Well, but I mean, in fairness to Rangers have stepped up over the space of 4 seasons in 3 leagues, haven't they? So their progress had to be halted at some stage. What
I'm saying is Celtic will win the Premier League in Scotland again. And they are by
by
far and away the best team in Scotland.
I totally agree.
And they just lost 7-0 to Barcelona.
No, it's a very good point. But I just find it, Davy Moyes, right, after he got beaten 3-0 by Everton the night before, and Scotsman, obviously, very realistic. The defence was shambles. We didn't pick people up in the back. We weren't marking anybody. We gave Lukaku all the space in the world. There's very much to work on.
Yeah.
But Brendan Rodgers was once described to me by another Premier League manager. He said, actually, of him, he said if he was made of chocolate, he'd lick himself.
Yes.
And you get that impression all the time.
You do.
And the way Brendan speaks, he sort of spits his words out and pulls his lips across his gums as though he's, measuring each word he says. But you don't have to measure words very much to start talking drivel after...
Well, I suppose...
it was drivel
well,
after
it was
such
drivel.
A thumping defeat.
But he's always been prone to doing that, hasn't he? Whenever he's been beaten, he's always been prone to saying things which don't tend to represent what everybody else saw.
That's
or
right.
what everybody else thinks about the game.
Yeah.
And quite a few Celtic fans are complaining already, saying that basically Celtic lost 6-1 to Barcelona 2 years ago, leave Rodgers alone, loads of debutants tonight. Yeah. Well, I mean, what's the point of putting debutants out if you're going to be beaten 7-0?
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, there's a passion and a fire within a footballer which can sometimes go a long way towards the quality gap between you and the opposition.
Yeah.
And I just didn't see that tonight, because what I saw tonight, that Barcelona team, yes, OK, they were free-flowing, but when they were scoring goals with volleys from like 30 yards out, you have to say to yourself, where were the crowd of defenders around the man who was volleying the ball in without? I mean, it was like it's like a practice match.
It's like 3 and in, wasn't it?
It was like a practice match. Honestly, it was like pitch the ball over and I'll try my volleying skills. That's what it was like. And what you have to do there is, and I'm not a football expert, but it's pretty obvious, is if you see a guy free and with a roving eye towards the ball,
his name has to be Andres Iniesta.
Yeah, they sort of crowd him out.
Get on top of him,
or just put him off, or shoulder charge him, or something. Make him, stop him from having the balance to execute some of the most beautiful moves in football.
Well,
like
I wonder. I found myself wondering this. One, what was said at half time, but also what was said before the start of the game by Brendan Rodgers. Because he knew if he's a man true to his word, that he had a team that wasn't very good. Yeah. He knew that there was a potential for this to happen. So what do you say to the players? Look, we're going to get horsed tonight, so just grin and bear it and try not to get too humiliated.
Well, what I always hate is all this about at this level. Well, you're at that level because that's where the world of football's pyramid structure says you're playing. So you are at that level. And then, the new camp, when you're playing at the new camp. Well, you play at the new camp because you're in that competition.
What about what he said earlier in the day?
What
about what he said earlier in the day about Luis Suarez being a beautiful person?
Yeah, I know, yeah.
One of the most beautiful men that he'd ever met.
Yeah.
That was a bit odd, wasn't it?
You, I suppose.
Well, yeah, I suppose so. Lord Rallo says this at the two mics. As a Liverpool fan, I'm relieved we don't have to listen to Brendan Rodgers' philosophical rubbish.
Yeah, well, you see, that does kind of sum it up, to be honest. That's the way I do feel a bit, really, about that sort of stuff. I don't know. You get beaten 7-0. I think you come out and say, we got hammered.
Yeah.
Look, the Barcelona team were brilliant.
Yeah.
A lot of other teams would have suffered tonight. But to say that, much better teams would have got beaten 7-0 is not an accurate reflection of the game.
No.
And I think you just take it on the chin and say, look, we've got a lot of work to do. We haven't got the resources of Barcelona. We're going to do our best to put this right.
Yeah.
We're going to go at him at Celtic Park or something like that. But it was all that philosophical rubbish about,
Now, the other big story tonight as well, is on the back pages this morning, is all the Manchester City fans, and I dare say some of the Borussia Mönchengladbach fans were very upset that the game was called off.
Well, you would be.
Because by the time the game was due to start, they were all saying, well, actually, the pitch looked fine. But supposedly, one of the reasons it was cancelled is because they were worried about the people coming to the ground in the midst of a great big thunderstorm.
They always say that about... I remember once a game was called off at Middlesbrough because the paths to the stadium go downhill, and they said people would slip on the icy patch. I can understand, but
I think Arsenal cancelled a game as well, didn't they? One time when there was a tube strike or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
There was a lot of ice on the roads.
But having said that, I must say I did see pictures tonight of the ball being propelled across the pitch. It didn't go anywhere.
No,
they were walking boot deep,
but that was earlier on.
Deep in water.
But that was earlier on, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I tell you what, mate, if there was 2 or 3 inches of water on the pitch an hour before the game, in my view, it wouldn't have been fit to play on anyway.
Yeah, but a lot of people have spent an awful lot of money to go to a game one night. Now they have to go to a game tonight now.
Well, I'm sorry, that's hard luck. That's Mother Nature. Nothing you can do about it. My view is that it would have been a fiasco to have played the game, because even if you say it had dried out to the extent where you could actually get a bit of a bounce out of the ball, it would have ripped the pitch to shreds after 10 or 15 minutes. It would have been a pointless game. No, I'm with the authorities on that one. It would have been a fiasco. And I'm travelling football fans, by the way. They take their life in their hands when they travel anywhere. They take their life in their hands on transport strikes, on quite rightly what you've just said tonight. When you get to the stadium and the game is even called off, political revolution, earthquakes, whatever.
Political revolution?
Well, yeah. I mean,
Never had one of those in Manchester for a while.
No, but lots of football fans have been in countries when a political revolution's taken place and had trouble getting home. I'm afraid that is the lot of the travelling football fan.
Well, it does say the pitch had recovered significantly by the time the game was postponed.
I don't believe that. I don't believe the pitch could have recovered sufficiently from when I saw the officials attempting to kick a ball across it, and it was like watching a kid playing softball in a swimming pool.
Right. Yeah. Well, I feel sorry for these Mönchengladbach fans.
Well, I feel a bit sorry for them.
400 quid to come over on a flight, get a hotel, and some of them saying we've got
Germans
to go back.
Are rich nation.
We've got to go home because we have to go to work tomorrow.
No, Germans are rich people. They shouldn't moan so much. They are.
You have no sympathy for anyone.
No. Most Germans are wealthy by comparison with the rest of the world.
Not true.
You asked some guy living on
the time, by the way.
Living on the top of a rubbish tip in the middle of Mexico City, whether he'd rather be Mexican or a German football.
Not a very good comparison.
Hang on, yes it is. Or a German football fan who tonight has been told he's got to stay one extra night in the beautiful city of Manchester, and I bet you that guy in Mexico would swap his rubbish tip existence
probably would.
For the life of the German football fan.
If he came all that way and then he found the game was postponed, he wouldn't be happy either, would he?
You'd be happier than sitting on his rubbish tip in Mexico.
Maybe not. You don't
I'm
know
telling
that.
you, a lot of people in Mexico City literally live on rubbish tips.
Yeah, we don't know that.
So they
Peter
do.
says this: Rostov are from a non-entity country? ? Shall we predict some famous Porky backtracking when he learns they are from Russia?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, but no. Sorry, what I'm saying is, if I'd have stopped 12 people in the high street in Glossop in Derbyshire today. And said, do you know where Rostov, the football club, come from? 10 of them wouldn't have known.
No.
That's the point I'm making.
Very possibly so.
They are not a popularly known football club in Europe.
If one of them was Nigel Pearson, he might have known. And he's looking for somebody else to talk about at the moment as well.
Who?
Nigel Pearson.
Well, Nigel Pearson's an expert in the matter. He's a sports broadcaster and journalist.
No, I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about the manager, Nigel Pearson.
Oh, Nigel Pearson. Sorry, Nigel Pearson.
No.
Who does the Speedway. He's mad on Speedway.
No, I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about the manager. He used to be manager of Leicester.
Yes, right. Yeah, OK. Well, he's at Derby now, of course.
He is, yeah.
That's right.
But he's just lost 3 games in a row.
He has, actually, hasn't he? Yeah, that's not so
anyway,
good.
Look at the time. We'll have to stop talking for a bit because there's lots going on. Here's one from Steve. He says, do you think Brendan Rodgers has been taking lessons from Porky about talking drivel? He did spot it first.
That's a bit harsh, isn't it?
This is talkSPORT.
The Two Mics. Simulcast across the UK on talkSPORT and Talk Radio.
So should we have a round of those Champions League results in full then for the British clubs?
Yeah, absolutely.
Barcelona 7, Celtic 0.
Oh dear.
Arsenal 1.
Yeah.
Paris Saint-Germain 1, Arsenal 1.
Yeah, you got that right, did you?
And Manchester City, Borussia Mönchengladbach match postponed due to rain.
Due to the floody hell.
It's not exactly a great start, is it?
Well, it's a bit of a wry night, I would say.
Yeah, I would say a bit of a false start. How about this from Brian?
Yeah.
He says, what is it with you two? 10 minutes later, still going on about Celtic and Brendan Rodgers. Give it a break. Maybe time to have a go at Arsenal.
No, hang on.
Realise what he has to work with and the financial constraints. Yeah. Arsenal, on the other hand, have none of the above and underachieve.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Well done and well said. But the point is, you can't ignore the fact that the 7-0 thrashing at the Nou Camp is the standout, not the outstanding, the standout result of the night. And of course, you're going to comment on it and say, what was the reaction to this? And the reaction is what we're talking about. We're not talking about the results anymore. We're talking about the reaction. Listen, before we go any further, because I was over in Mallorca with you recently.
You were indeed.
Alan has sent in
not for long, though.
A note. He said, airport bound for 11 days on the Bladderation Trail in Mallorca. This is sounding good. Introducing the wife on the journey to the joys of the Two Mics.
Oh, good.
Any chance of a bon voyage from Porky? Her name's Jenny. Cheers, guys. Well, not only a bon voyage from myself, the Portmeister. So, Jenny, have a great holiday and a great, great trip. And thanks for listening. But also, Mike, you might want also to pass on your best wishes to Jenny.
Yes, indeed. Is there a picture of him and Jenny there?
No, not really. Just the thumbnail thing that goes with the tweet.
What does his thumbnail picture show?
I'm just having a look. His name is Alyn, A-L-Y-N. So it's some
Alan,
kind of Welsh name or something.
Could be.
Oh, it's a picture of him here at Wembley.
All right.
And he looks like I would say, clean-cut young man.
Does he?
And I'm not sure who's playing here.
Alyn and Jenny.
Alyn and Jenny.
Yeah, well, I'll have a great time in Mallorca.
Oh, I'll tell you what, whatever's going on here, he supports a really small club because this is Wembley at some kind of a final, but it's like one
Like a playoff final or something?
No, it's not even that. It's 1/10 full. It's like the Johnson's Paint Trophy or something.
Well, maybe everybody's left.
Maybe everybody. No, I don't think so. No.
Can you not identify the team that he supports by reading his tweets?
It doesn't say so.
Really?
Oh, hang on. Looking friendly already. Oh, hang on. Wait a minute. What's it say here? Wait a minute.
This is completely hopeless.
Well, I'm not sure what it's all about. Anyway, look, we've sent on our best wishes. Well done.
Yeah.
Sorry that if I've... here you are.
You made a complete dog's breakfast.
Hang on, the
basically.
Portmeister, champion of the people from here to Costa Rica, says Alan. Thank you very much indeed, Alan. Just about sums it all up. Thank you very much indeed. Okay.
Well, I had a tweet earlier in the day, actually, from somebody whose name escapes me, but they sent me a story from The Independent today, which is about the 23 successful people who wake up incredibly early. And what he said was he was amazed that you weren't on the list.
Well, I'm amazed as well. I get up earlier than most people I know. How early do these people get up, and who are they?
Well, I'll tell you who they all are and when they get up and what they do for a living very, very shortly. We've got a few calls to take. There's one from Hussein, who's calling in from Birmingham. Hussein, a very good morning to you.
Mike, how are you, mate?
Yeah, very well indeed. What do you want to say, Hussein?
I've been listening to you since year dot one.
Have you?
Oh, good man, top man.
Listen, this thing about Celtic, like being this big fat club, world famous club. No one knows them in Asia. And if
that's not true, actually.
If they're so big, tell me which big player has played for them.
Well,
there's been no.
Well, they've had lots of big players play. Yeah. Henrik Larsson may have been probably the last biggest player.
Hang on. The whole of the 19...
Who has played for them apart from some Greeks and Swedes?
No. I'm sorry.
What are you saying? Hussein?
Hussein, let me tell you, the whole of the 1967 team that won the European Cup, they were all very, very big players, believe me.
Well, Kenny Dalglish played for them, for heaven's sake.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
But he played for them. Listen, I'm a Liverpool fan.
Yeah.
And, listen, I love Celtic. I was there when after Hillsborough, I was there in 1989 when we went to the friendly. The first game we played, I was there. But the thing is,
well, do you remember when Celtic and Liverpool met?
They need to move on the times. They're not this big club they think they are. What they were in the 60s under Jogstein.
Hussein, can I just say to you, and this is a fact, honestly, and Mike and I have worked all over. We've worked all over the world, particularly in America. Celtic have got one of the biggest fan bases in the world, literally.
No, in America, yes.
No, around the world. You said they're not known in Asia.
Not in Asia, not in Europe, not in Asia.
I'm telling you, they've got one of the biggest fan bases in the world.
I love you to bits. Your first show with Alan Brazil, 1999. I remember I used to work as a courier driver.
Oh, really?
First, that was when it was talk radio. I love it a bit. But trust me, America, fair enough, because there's a lot of Catholic people and stuff. But in Asia...
there's a lot of ex-Scottish people, actually.
Listen,
there's a lot of Catholic people in South America.
There is
and Rome.
Many Celtic followers there. It's a big myth. Celtic.
I don't know, Hussein. I don't know why you've rung up to diss Celtic.
Parts of the world, not around the world.
But why have you? But Hussein, hang on.
Big player that played for them.
Hussein, hang on a second, right? Why have you rung up to give Celtic more grief? They've already been beaten 7-0.
I know.
Don't rub salt into the wounds, man.
He cost Liverpool the title. Forget Gerrard's slip. It was his fault that he made some dodgy mistakes early in the season that cost us points.
Brendan.
Forget Gerrard's slip. I blame him. Oh, beautiful Suarez. Oh, beautiful this, beautiful that. What the hell is all that about? Everything is just beautiful.
Hussein, have you ever heard of a guy called Tommy Gemmell?
Geez, of course I know Tommy Gemmell. He scored that wonderful goal. I was there in 1978 in Argentina. It was fantastic. But those days are gone.
But you asked which big players played for them. That man scored 2 goals in 2 European Cup finals and won one of them. So they've got a very proud history.
Mike, I was there in Milan when Celtic lost to Feyenoord.
Right.
Feyenoord, for God's sake, they lost to Feyenoord in 2-1. I was there.
Feyenoord were a good team, though, I have to say, Hussein. Listen, we've got to get somebody else on the phone, Hussein, so thank you very much indeed for ringing in from Birmingham. Let's talk to Martin, who's from Glasgow. Yep. Martin, very good evening to you.
How you doing, mate?
Yeah,
very well, mate.
What would you like to say, Martin?
On respect, I used to, and I still keep listening to you, but do you expect Celtic to go to the new camp and shut up shop?
Well, you expect them not to lose 7-0 in the same competition.
Yeah, come on, Martin.
Players in England cost as much as our full teams up here. So what chance are you getting us? And then you come over in there and slag us rotten because who does yours ever play for?
We're not slagging off Celtic, we're slagging off Brendan Rodgers, because Brendan Rodgers is a fantasist, Martin.
No. You might think he's a fantasist.
Well, he is.
He's up here with the money, and he's got the money he's allowed to spend, and that's all he's got.
Well, what's he going to do with it? What's he going to do? What's he going to do with the Champions League money?
With Champions League money.
You get money for being in the Champions League.
You get more than that just for getting relegated.
Yeah, Martin, have you not just heard us praising Celtic, praising its heritage, praising its history, praising its worldwide fan base? And I think you deserve more than getting beaten 7-0 in Barcelona, and then your manager coming out afterwards and said it could have happened to anybody.
Well, you give us the money you get down there, and we'll compete with you.
What money?
Yeah, I agree. No, he means the Sky money. The Sky money. I agree with you.
Well, it's not ours to give, is it?
I agree. You're short of resources up in Scotland. That's the anomaly of being a big club in a country that's so limited in numbers, geographically. But
so don't come on and beat us because we didn't shut up in the new camp.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, it's
7-0's not good,
Martin,
is it?
It's being beaten is one thing. Being beaten 7-0, being horsed in your own lingo, is not a thing to be proud of.
We did get horsed.
You've been horsed.
7-0, but give us the money you get down there, and I guarantee you're scared.
Well, hang on, Leicester. Do you think Leicester would have been beaten 7-0 by Barcelona? They haven't got the same kind of money as Manchester City.
Yes, I do.
Do you?
Yes.
No, they wouldn't.
I don't think so.
You've been listening too much to Brendan Rodgers.
Give us Leicester, I guarantee you we pump Leicester.
Yeah, listen, Martin, what's the future for Celtic? What's the future?
What is the future?
Yeah.
The future is green, white and gold. And exactly, give us the money that you get and you are scared of us down there.
Well, you keep saying that. Give us the money, give us the money. You sound like that guy in that Tom Cruise film. Give me the money,
Show
give me the money.
Show me the money.
Show me the money.
No, you're getting paid for talking a lot of rubbish because who have you ever played for?
Yeah, well, listen.
He played for English grammar schools.
I certainly did. Played for English grammar schools, so I've done more representative football than you.
You're Scottish. We talk Scottish, not English.
Yeah, well, listen, Martin, listen, stay by the phone, and when England play Scotland, you and I, we should have another conversation.
Indeed.
What do you think?
I'll be doing it then, Rob. We're doing it then, and win, lose or draw, I'll still be celebrating because you actually think England deserve to win everything you've ever
I don't
know,
because I'm actually... No, I'm Scottish, Martin.
Yeah,
I don't believe that.
He is Scottish,
I'll be
honestly.
supporting Scotland, I promise you. Yeah. And we'll be up at the garage. Maybe you should come along on, was it December the 17th?
It's a Saturday. Yeah. Come along, you can throw tomatoes at me.
Yeah, I'll bring some English money up.
Indeed.
And see if they want any of it.
Martin, always good to hear from our friends north of the border. Thank you very much.
Yeah. I just can't believe you're so rude to that guy. But anyway.
Which guy?
That guy, Martin, just now.
No, I wasn't rude to him. How was I rude to him?
You were very rude to him.
I wasn't rude to him. You were.
No, not at all. We'll take more calls off you if you like. 08717 22 3344. We're going to speak as well to Janusz Michalik a little bit later on with his view on what happened in the Champions League last night. This is talkSPORT.
If you can get the penalty and get it to 1-1, then it can make the crowd a little bit nervy, and especially after the weekend's loss. To then very quickly go down 2-0 was obviously disappointing. This is a competition that's going to be a brilliant learning season for us in the Champions League. Tonight is one of those tough nights that you take at this level, and like as I said, there can be no embarrassment because they do that to teams that much better teams than ourselves.
So no embarrassment.
Well, you see, it's that phrase that gets me. That was the thing that struck me when I was listening to the post-match review of the game. No embarrassment.
No.
There's got to be embarrassment. A professional footballer who comes off a field, and he's paid to play the game and he's lost 7-0. How often does that happen? I would say to most footballers, it doesn't happen in the whole of their career.
To many of them, no, absolutely
to many footballers, it never happens in the whole of their career.
As he says, at this level. That's level.
Now, the level of Celtic in Scotland, I don't think Scotland have ever been beaten 7-0 by any other team in Scotland, OK?
Celtic? No, I don't think they have.
Exactly. So they go out of their comfort zone, they go out of their safety blanket zone, they go into Europe, get battered 7-0.
Yeah.
If you're telling me that no Celtic player tonight felt embarrassed walking off that pitch, getting back on that coach, driving back to that airport, getting on that plane, seeing fans, walking away from the stadium. I don't believe Brendan Rodgers when he says there is no embarrassment. He must know his players better than that, and he must know the professional footballers are hugely embarrassed by horrendous defeats like that.
Well, they've got to play Manchester City yet as well, haven't they?
Exactly.
I mean, they could lose 7-0 to them the way things are looking, which wouldn't be very good at all.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It just irritates me that he's glossing over things. For all I'm saying is, Brendan, face up to the fact that this was horrendous, and that's the way that you can start trying to do something about it, not pretending that it has no effect on my players, no embarrassment.
Exactly right. Now, we're going to go back to the phones in a moment. Andy's in Falkirk, but let me read you a few tweets. Zoggy says this: poor Celtic, totally battered. Yeah. Be good to hear what Mike Parry's mate Brendan says.
Yes.
Well, you have just heard that.
Exactly.
You'd have to say. And Alex says, some Celtic fans say they could compete in the Premier League. They would struggle in the Championship. Fact. Well, I have said that if they did get into the Premier League and they were able to actually get some money together and buy some more decent players, then they probably could actually do OK in the Premier League. But no guarantee they'd be up near the top of it.
Well, the thing is, Mike, there's such a huge gulf now between Scottish football and English football that it would take Celtic 3, maybe 4 seasons to get back to the sort of level of being competitive. I mean, the great days when Celtic played Leeds in the semi-final, I think it was, of the European Cup, quarter-final, semi-final, it was one of those.
The year they won it?
No. It was much later. It was in the 70s when Leeds United were the dominant team. Leeds United lost in the final to Bayern Munich 2-0 in Paris, I think. And all I'm saying is, when they're at that level, it takes so long, and that's because when it all started, the Scottish Premier League were getting money almost equivalent to what the English Premier League were getting, and that's why Graham Souness was able to go up there and start recruiting players who were like playing for Ipswich and teams like that. Great. Centre half, bandage head, played for England.
Well, the guy that ended up running Scotland.
No. The centre half who played with Brazil at Ipswich.
Do you mean Terry Butcher?
Terry Butcher, thank you very much indeed.
But he ended up running a club in Scotland, didn't he?
Yes, he did. You're absolutely Hibernian. Absolutely right.
No, it was Kilmarnock, wasn't it?
And then he went on to Hibernian.
Motherwell, wasn't it?
No, I think he went on to Hibernian.
Anyway, listen, why don't we ask Andy from Falkirk? Because he'll be an expert on these things. Andy, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, very well indeed. What would you like to say, Andy?
We're going to about Terry Butcher. He managed Hibs, Motherwell, Inverness, Cali.
That's it. Well done, Andy. Now, what about Celtic tonight, then?
I just wanted to put in a little bit of context. I sent a text in when Hussein was going off for the deep end. We have 52,000 season ticket holders, which is almost more than Anfield actually holds at the moment.
That's amazing.
But just to put a little bit of context, we haven't been in the Champions League for 3 years. Mm-hmm. Brendan has been employed to bring us up to that level again. We're going to earn a minimum of 30 million, which is huge in Scottish.
It is huge, yes. But what's he going to do with the money? Was my last question to the last.
Well, we've already started investing again. Scott Sinclair's a fantastic player who went. They get lost basically at Man City and Chelsea over the years, but he's been a fantastic acquisition for us. Colo Touré, still at 36, is a great signing. But just to put Barca tonight into perspective, Barca, since the start of last season, have beaten 10 teams by a score of more than 5 goals or more. It happens frequently, Barcelona. Yeah. But of course, Celtic players will feel...
Doesn't happen in the Champions League that often, though, does it?
No.
Well, it does actually. They've beaten plenty of teams in Champions League.
But they didn't win the Champions League.
How many teams have they beaten 7-0 in the Champions League?
Well, I don't know about 7-0, no.
Well, I don't think they've beaten anyone 7-0 in the Champions League.
Let's just say that 7-0 is not an ordinary result for Barca or Celtic.
No, it's an outrageous humiliation.
Accepted, but it's not humiliation as a fact from where we are and where we are now. But the players' professional pride, they'll be hurting badly.
Yeah, exactly.
Unbelievably badly. I mean, there wasn't a lot we could do. To be honest, I don't think. Right back, kind of switched off a couple of times. Keeper should have saved the...
But what I was asking Mike earlier about Andy, and as a Celtic fan, you might ask this question, what did Brendan Rodgers tell them before we put them out there on the pitch? What did he tell them to do? Because whatever it was, they didn't do it.
What did he tell them to do? Try not to concede early. We did. We played with 5 at the back, which was a first.
If you get a penalty, don't miss it.
Yep, I don't know why you want to take a 2-step penalty and put a slipper step in it. I
know.
This is the man that scored the hat-trick against Rangers at the weekend, so we're hardly going to crucify him.
Yeah, but don't you think also, Andy, that when the manager comes out after and said there is no embarrassment in this result, that's the wrong tack to take after such a devastating reversal? You can't say there's no embarrassment because you've just admitted the players will feel it.
Of course they will. Porky, do you think he said that in the dressing room?
Well, I don't know whether he sent in the dressing room or not. The point is...
Maybe he's got another envelope in the dressing room. He's putting a few names in it.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows what he got to get up to?
Yeah, don't go down that route, please. That's the Brendan
Listen,
route.
whenever Brendan Rodgers leaves a club, there's always a lot more rancour from the fans about him than there was when he arrived.
Can I just say, and you know this anyway, Mike, we are ecstatic we have Brendan Rodgers at our club, and we are immensely proud he's there.
Yeah.
And the difference between Celtic and Rangers this season is going to be with the Champions League money, about 50 million in turnover.
Yeah.
But it's not going to make any difference if you go back into the Champions League next year and lose 7-0 again.
No, I disagree, because we've not been in it for 3 years.
Yeah, but...
you know yourself, this is a huge step up for Celtic being back in Scottish
I was saying that just the other day to Porky, yeah. But, I mean, I had to take it all back because their first appearance in the Champions League, they've been horsed 7-0.
Yeah, and we're rubbish away from home. We have been for years.
Well, you need to get a grip of that.
What do you think's going to happen in Manchester City?
Well, that's going to be another tough games. But the fact is, Celtic Park, European nights, Champions League nights, you could lose the first 3 games by getting the hub.
Well, in the old days, yeah, with a half-decent team, even with Neil Lennon's team, but not with this team.
No, well, it's going to take time, but I'm more than happy what's happening, but not tonight.
I admire your stoicism, Andy.
I do as well, Andy. Thank you very much indeed for calling us.
Well done. Yeah. Thank you very much. Let's talk to Rob, who's a Chelsea fan. Hello, Rob.
Hello, mate. How are you doing?
Yeah, very
pretty
well.
good.
What do you want to say, Rob?
I just think some of these Celtic fans phoning up are actually a bit deluded, really. 30 million they're getting for this European Championship.
Yeah.
Right. Now, you just said it. That last bloke said they bought fantastic players. Scott Sinclair, never done nothing in England, which is the best league in the world. They go up to play the Mickey Mouse League in Scotland, and I am Scottish, so...
You're allowed to say it, then?
Yeah, you sound Scottish, yeah.
Right, so... And I'm a Rangers fan. I'll let them have their bit from Saturday, bats on this. I'm laughing my head off.
Well, I mean, how bad are Rangers if the team that beat them 5-1 just lost 7-0?
Yeah, but we are rebuilding. What happened?
So are they. They're rebuilding the toilets at Parkhead after what some of the Rangers fans did.
Yeah.
Well, but that's disgusting. But so's everything else.
It is
bigotry, and it's not right. But what I'm saying is, they're buying fantastic players. Colo Torre, 36. If he's excellent. He couldn't even get in the Liverpool team first.
Yeah,
I thought that was his waist measurement, actually.
Yeah, I did as well. Rob, what about Brendan Rodgers' attitude to this humiliating defeat?
Realistically, I do agree with the last caller. Do you think he said that in the dressing room? No. However, you don't come out and go, "Oh, it happens to anybody." Yeah. Barcelona got beat at the weekend 2-1 off Alaves.
They did, yeah, they did. I know, and they didn't win the Champions League last season.
No,
when everybody thought they would.
But my main point is he's buying mediocre players, giving them a payday to come up to Scotland, see their time out. Scott Sinclair was decent, never done nothing. But as a manager, you don't come out and go, "Oh, there's no embarrassment in getting beat 7-0.
No.
That's probably...
Well, I think that's the point that we've made.
I think that's a very bad choice of words. Rob, thank you very much indeed for calling up. Here's another Celtic fan, Lisbon67 calls himself. Barcelona beat Man United in the Champions League final 3-1. I think Man United had 15% possession in 3 shots at goal. I saw that game, and Barcelona completely and utterly outclassed them, but it wasn't 7-0.
No, it wasn't.
If it had been 7-0, that would have been a very big embarrassment and humiliation to Manchester United.
Indeed.
3-1 in the Champions League final to Barcelona, who are playing very well, is not anything like that sort of shame, is it?
No, I totally agree. Anyway, that's Celtic all done and dusted. Now, have you got half an eye on the Spurs game tonight? Because it's going to be so interesting.
Half an eye?
Yeah.
What do you mean half an eye?
Well, I mean, have you got half an eye on the game?
I haven't got half an eye on anything.
That's an expression to say, is it within your remit of things that you're supposed to be taking
I shall certainly be taking
notice
in
of
all of the action that is going on tonight.
Saying.
Spurs against Monaco at Wembley.
So I'm saying
Leicester against Club Bruges.
You Jew said.
And also the replay, not the replay, but the postponed game, Manchester City against Borussia Mönchengladbach.
Yeah, but did you know that Tottenham could set a record that would put them in front 82 years ago,
right?
Since an English club's home game will have exceeded the crowd that Tottenham play in front of tonight.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How many tickets have they sold?
85,000, it's thought, and the previous record, Manchester City, 84,467 against Stoke in the 1934 FA Cup tie.
Right.
And so it'll be the biggest crowd that... that's
in modern day football.
Well, in 82 years, it'll be the biggest crowd an English team have played in front of in this country. That's incredible. That
is, yeah. That is. And a lot of people say that it won't do them any good. I'm not one of those. I think it will do them quite a lot of good.
It's very, very different playing at Wembley, I am told, to playing at your own club's ground.
Well, you know Wembley. You've been there often enough.
Yes, I have,
You're practically a regular at the Wembley club, aren't you?
Yes, more or less so. But
you've still got a seat there.
Although I've seen the dressing rooms downstairs, and although I don't visit them regularly, but they are expansive. But what I'm saying is...
I've been in the old dressing rooms. I told you that, right?
Oh, yeah, I've been in the old dressing rooms as well. I've been in the bath in the old dressing rooms.
I didn't want to get in the bath.
No. Well,
you did in the bath.
I was in there. We had a visit
so you just went in the bath?
Yeah, absolutely.
Was there any water in it?
Yes, of course there was, yeah.
So you just took your clothes off and got in the bath?
No, we were doing things there. There were all sorts of things. It was prior to the cup final, and we were messing around at Wembley. Simple as that.
Really?
Yeah, don't worry about it.
What did you wear when you got in the bath then? With other people?
No, a pair of shorts, of course.
Shorts?
Yes.
What's like swimming shorts?
Well, I think they were football shorts, actually, because, we'd been, as I say, messing around
Who
behind
else was
the goal.
in the bath?
Oh, one or two other people.
Well, what I know?
No, do you know? But I mean...
Any women?
No, because the whole team used to go in the bathroom.
Yeah, I know that.
That's the way it was.
But I played at Wembley, you see. That's why I'm telling you the story. I played at Wembley. We won the medal there. I walked up the steps and got the medal.
Millions of
You don't
people,
like to talk about it.
Millions of people have done that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
we've got to stop talking.
All I was going to say is that you talk to professional footballers and they say that home is home, and that's why you have home advantage.
Yeah.
And if you're playing at Wembley, Spurs are not playing at home.
Well, somebody's pointed out already that Arsenal played there, didn't they?
Yes.
Once in the European.
Was that the new Wembley or the old Wembley?
It must have been the old Wembley, mustn't it?
Well, the old Wembley was closed down in 2000, and the Champions League started in '93. No, it could have been the old one. No, I think it was the old one.
Well, it was while they were building the new Arsenal stadium.
I think it was the old
one. But they didn't do terribly well there.
No,
apparently.
they didn't. No.
Anyway, we haven't got any more time now, so I'll have to get back to you about
Indeed.
that. And we've got more and more tweets coming in as well.
Yeah.
And one from Gemma who says Rodgers cost us the league. She's a Liverpool fan, but now he's got a record 7-0. Yeah, it's not what he wants, I don't think.
Not the sort of record you would want.
The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on talkSPORT and Talk Radio.
I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down. I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down.
Got Aurier going straight away down the right-hand side from fullback. Good ball in, and Cavani scored. 42 seconds into the game, and PSG have the lead. Espina's first touch of the night is to retrieve the ball from the net. Iwobi finds Monreal, who skips around Aurier's challenge and then chips it in towards the far post. Oxlade-Chamberlain back across the edge of the 6-yard box, but Marquinhos was there to head away. Here's Cavani, edge of the penalty area. Oh, he's missed the target.
Goodness.
It was an open goal. Arsenal again, the architects of their own downfall. Verratti with a long direct ball forward over the top. Di Maria has got in here behind Monreal, who just did enough to put him off his stride. Di Maria is claiming that it should be a penalty, but the referee has said it was a legitimate challenge. Di Maria is in and rifles it towards goal. Espina got a strong left hand to it to tip it over the bar. Sanchez then finds Iwobi. Keeper makes a save as he dives away to his left-hand side. The rebound didn't quite fall for Giroud. Cavani tries to get in there and is in, and the goalkeeper again has come out and saved. Little double save, in fact, by Espina. This is better from Arsenal. Ozil taking the responsibility. Iwobi, good save by the goalkeeper. Sanchez, 1-1. There's the equalising goal for Arsenal. There's a yellow card. I think Verratti's going to go here, and Giroud might go as well. Both for second bookable offences. Giroud is off, and Verratti is off as well. Di Maria takes the corner in towards the near post. It's flicked across the base of goal. It's finished PSG 1, Arsenal 1.
You have to say Arsenal got very lucky last night. They shouldn't really have got a draw at all, but they got one in the end. So you might say that Arsene Wenger lives to fight another day.
No, I would say good luck to them. If you fly by the seat of your pants when you go into Europe. If you get a lucky result, good for you.
Yeah, absolutely right. You just blame PSG for not making more of their goal scoring opportunities. Janusz Michalik is with us very shortly. Let me just read you this from Alexander. Yeah. Last time I heard of a 7-0 loss, it was Brazil versus Germany in the World Cup. All the Brazilian players were crying and apologising, and the manager resigned.
Yeah, that's right.
Just saying.
Yeah,
so I think that puts it into a bit of perspective as well. Let's speak to Janusz and find out what he made of it last night and big games tonight. Janusz, very good morning to you.
Good morning, boys. How are you?
Yeah, very well,
thank you.
Very well indeed. I mean, Manchester City's game gets played tonight, so we'll get to that in a minute. What did you make of the Arsenal game, first of all?
Well, I mean, a minute in, I thought it was all over by the crying, right? But hey, you guys said it. I've been listening to you guys for a while now, and it's one of those games that you take the points because it could have been 5, could have been 6, really. I mean, if you look at Cavani and all the chances, but it is Europe, it is PSG. I commentated their game on the last game against Saint-Etienne, and they were absolutely woeful. And today they started brightly, but if you're Arsenal, you take the points. They didn't play well at all.
No, they didn't. What did you make of the whole Giroud thing? Because Arsene Wenger afterwards was saying that he spoke to Giroud, and as far as the sending off was concerned, he didn't think he did anything. What did you see?
I didn't see anything. Neither player should have gotten a yellow card. I mean, it's just absolutely nothing there. I would appeal that. If there's a way, I would appeal that if you're Verratti or just nothing in the play.
Right.
The referee's got to have common sense. This late in the game, why would you prevent these two players from playing? Nothing happened there.
Right.
Yeah. No.
And what about Sanchez being chosen? There's a lot of Arsenal fans being critical. I mean, it was still the usual split of Wenger in, Wenger out, without starting with Giroud, without buying a proper striker. He's suddenly playing Sanchez in the central striking role, which doesn't really work.
No, it doesn't. I was very surprised. I mean, why would you do that? And I think you should have known, right? Last 4 years, I mean, they didn't finish top of the group, which they paid the price for that, right? It's an important game. It's an away game against the biggest competition in the group. Why would you go and change that? It's not to say that Sanchez can't do the job, but as we saw, he struggled. He's changed that, and that's on Arsene Wenger. I don't get that. Go with the strongest lineup. I mean, there's a period of time there, boys, I think, for 15, 20 minutes where they could have, I don't want to say stole the game, but they could have won it.
Yeah, but you kind of get the impression, Janice, don't you, that Arsenal are going to struggle to get very far in this competition. Another wasted season of indifference, really, or averageness, or something like that. You know what I mean? You just don't get the feeling that, they've got a chance of winning this trophy. You do get that feeling with Manchester City because they've been so impressive in the domestic league so far. And that, that raises the question as to why their game was called off last night. I say, yes, you had to because the pitch was too wet. But my colleague here says, no, you could have played on that pitch. Tell him, as a professional footballer, you can't play in a paddy field.
Yeah, it didn't look it. I mean, you play if you can, but that didn't look. And lightning as well, right? I mean, you have to
exactly.
So I think, look, in today's world, 20, 30 years ago in my time, I suppose I played on some bad pitches. But, I mean, what's the point if you have good clubs like Manchester City and Borussia Mönchengladbach, global audience of billions watching this? Now, why would you want to see a game like this where the ball barely moves? It just doesn't make sense, does it?
Well, maybe that's more the reason why they stopped it, not actually all this nonsense about safety. It's about, we've got to make it a nice spectacle for everybody. But all the Borussia Mönchengladbach fans have got to go back to work. They're not very happy about it.
That's a hard look. I mean, Janice, I was just saying, the German people are amongst the richest in the world. After the...
That doesn't mean they want to throw 400 quid away.
It doesn't matter. What I'm saying is, for them to start moaning about, we have to stay in Manchester for the one extra night, I mean, I think that that's ridiculous.
They won't mind. They're just saying they won't mind. They'll have a couple of pints and call back home. I mean, it's great. Another day out of work, so it won't be a problem.
I totally agree with you.
Now, you've been watching, Janusz, you've been watching some of the French league this year. Monaco take on Spurs.
Pity.
Well, hang on. Monaco top of the league, actually. You may not have known that.
Yeah, but watching the French league is one of the most boring occupations known to man.
Well, I mean, Janusz could probably speak as more of an expert than you, but how good are Monaco against Spurs?
Monaco beat PSG this year 3-1. So I mean, it's not going to be, it's not going to be a walk in the park. That's for sure. So I think it's one of, it's Champions League. I mean, you got to be smart where to get the points right. So you play safe, and in the end, for the most part, the top two teams come out, and I believe both Spurs and Monaco will come out of that group.
Okay, and what about playing at Wembley? Because Mike was talking about this earlier, that as much as Spurs will have a massive crowd there,
it's not their home ground.
It's not their home ground.
No, I think that it is a problem. It could be a problem. I think we're seeing that with the London Stadium with West Ham. I mean, it takes a while. I mean, when you have home field advantage, you kind of know everything without knowing. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like every movement, every corner. When you take shots, sometimes you may be aiming for little things, right? You have a point of reference. There's just something about your stadium and about the crowd, how they react, how everything happens, the acoustics or whatever it is. Now, I'm not saying that this is going to, players are players. They should be able to play. But I think it takes away that home field advantage a little bit. And it's an adjustment. I think, to both teams, obviously. And normally, when you play at your own home, that shouldn't be the case, right?
Absolutely right.
Sure.
And what about Leicester? Because obviously, like the shine has come off them to some extent in the Premier League this year so far. They haven't looked like anything like the team they were last year. But you fancy them in the Champions League to do okay?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think we've seen, I almost feel it's one of those things that we're kind of seeing what's happening in the Premier League, and they're going to surprise us one more time. And it's going to be the Premier League where they're going to concentrate. Yeah. That's how, law of averages sometimes. It does happen. I don't know why. It's happened to me as a player in the past where nobody believed, and you kind of just find an extra goal. You know what I mean? You think like, well, we've proved it there. Can we possibly prove everybody wrong here? And you get that extra energy. You really do, because everybody's against you, and that's what worked for them last year. So I wouldn't be surprised if they come out of the group. Let's put it that way.
Okay. Well, we're all looking forward to it big time. Janusz, thank you very much indeed for joining us. I'm sorry that Mr. Parry kept interrupting you.
No,
Janusz Mikulik, who played international football, don't you know? So you should give him a bit more respect.
I did give him all the respect in the world.
Slagging him off for watching French football.
No. Well, watching French football is akin to watching paint dry or grass grow.
Really?
Well, I mean, it is.
I've seen the time, by the way.
Just very quickly.
No, we haven't got time.
A mention for Aussie.
Yeah, go on.
Give a mention, lads. Love the show. Listening in Wodonga, Australia. Big Everton fan originally from sunny Rill.
Is that a funny thing?
Yeah.
An Everton fan, that's where it's given a mention.
Yeah.
This is talkSPORT. You're looking actually relatively relaxed today, considering the intense heat of the day earlier.
I'm glad you brought that up,
hottest day in September for, 100 years or something?
I'm glad you brought that up, because I wanted to talk to you about that.
Did
because it was intensely hot today. Now, I had to go to an appointment at lunchtime,
Did
right?
You?
And I got
what sort of appointment?
Just a professional thing, you know.
Yeah, okay.
And
not with the new business advisor.
Not with the new business advisor.
Okay.
No. But I'm in
How
contact, obviously, in great shape. Thank you. In great shape. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Now, what I was going to say was, so I get in the old Merc in the underground car park, and that's great. And
it must be hot in the underground car park.
It's not. It's very cool.
Is it?
It's cool. The lower you go down. I mean, in the old days when they didn't have refrigerators and all that kind of stuff, they used to dig great holes in the great country houses, and that's where they stored all the.
The larder, you mean?
Yeah, the larder, the food and the wine and all that. And they used to actually import ice, and they used to build igloos, like 30 feet down, and the ice stayed frozen.
Did it?
Oh yeah.
They did that in Downton Abbey.
They did that in Downton Abbey, that's right.
That's not where you get your information from, is it?
No, I get my information from the knowledge that I gained in taking O-level art at the King's School Chester.
O-level art?
Where I learnt about Capability Brown.
Did you?
Capability...
Brown,
that's right, that's him, yeah. Now,
he was a gardener, wasn't he?
He was a gardener, yeah. Now, but he invented...
Why was he part of an art course, then?
Eh?
Why was he part of an art course?
Well, architecture was part of the course.
Was it?
And landscaping and all that, yeah. Anyway, listen, getting back to it, So I go down to the underground car park, it's very cool there, and I get in the car, and then I give it 3 minutes of air conditioning in the car to, cold the car.
Did you bring it all the way down to, 16?
16.
Yeah,
and below, because once you go below 16, there's not a rating, it's just very cold, So anyway, got it nice and cold before I ventured out through the roll-up door, which opens automatically, into the sunshine. And then, I couldn't feel how hot it was outside.
No.
So I drive to the appointment that I'm at, 20 minutes away.
Yeah.
And then I park in the car park, and I should think there was probably 70 or 80 yards from where I parked my car to the front door. And I got out of the car, and I couldn't believe it.
Could you find a mother and child space to park in?
No, there weren't they. Actually. No, I was looking for one. No, now, it was just like, I told you it was like, when you're a kid and you're on holiday in Mallorca, you're running around the pool, you feel that intense heat on the tiles below you.
Yes.
Below your feet and all that. And if you're in New York, as you and I know only too well, in the middle of a hot summer, a very hot summer, the heat literally throws itself out of the buildings onto your face because they act like thermos blocks.
It reflects.
It does. Yeah,
that's why Manhattan gets so hot.
Exactly, absolutely right. Yeah, and it felt just like that. So it was very uncomfortable. So by the time I got into the building I was going into, my shirt was wet. Through instant perspiration.
Yes.
Even though when I got
dreadful.
I got out the car, I was cold.
Right.
So
and did you have a jacket on to cover that up?
No, I didn't. No.
Really?
No, I didn't know. But it didn't matter because it was actually a good air conditioning system. By the time I got into the office, I was where I was seeing somebody. 10 minutes later, everything was fine. But nevertheless, it was that unpleasant interlude. Now, I want to ask this. Some people who are overweight, I would call them fat, although obese is the correct...
Well, just people in general?
Yeah, people in general, get assistance from the state because of their fatness.
Why?
Well, they do. The state gives them something like, a mobility scooter or something like that.
Not everybody.
Or gives them allowances.
Not everybody who's fat gets assistance from the state.
Well, I'm not being fattest
you don't,
here.
do you?
I'm not being fattest here, but there are an awful lot of overweight people in the world.
Well, you're overweight.
No, not.
You are.
But I'm not incapacitated through overweight.
No, I know, but you're overweight, but yet you don't get assistance from the state.
No, that's what I'm saying. Now, a lot of people are overweight through their own fault, and they're incapacitated. They get an awful lot of help from the state. They either don't have to work, and they have carers and all this kind of stuff. Okay. Now,
well, it's a very small portion of the population you're talking about.
Well, it may be small, but what I'm saying
I don't
is,
understand why you're attacking them.
Well, I'm not attacking them. I'm saying those in need must be helped by any civilised society.
Right.
Okay. But there should be some sort of means test as to whether other people who are not as honest are taking advantage of the good nature of our state.
There are laws against defrauding the state.
Well, okay, I'm not talking about defrauding. I'm talking. Anyway, the point I'm making is this.
I don't know what your point is.
I suffer so badly from the heat. I think I should have state aid.
What?
I suffer so badly from the heat, I think that
what sort of state aid do you want?
Well,
you want somebody to carry around a litter?
No, but what I'm saying is I have to provide my own vehicle with a very developed air conditioning system.
What, you mean
system.
you have a car that's got air conditioning?
Well,
like everybody else has got a car with air conditioning.
But it's highly developed.
Well, it's no better than any other air conditioning.
Oh, it is. Believe me. Oh, it is.
Absolute rubbish.
I couldn't believe
my car's got perfectly good air conditioning as well.
Not as good as mine,
yeah,
honestly.
it will be. No, it's the same make of car.
Yeah, but it's about 15 years older.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Mine's very sophisticated. And then, it actually, corrects itself all the time. Now, what I'm saying is, why should I have to provide the means of protecting me from heat, which affects me so badly?
Why don't you just stay in the house?
Yeah, but you see, that means I'm housebound, and therefore,
safer for everybody else.
No, I pay a huge amount in taxes, like everybody else, because we're a highly taxed country, no problem at all.
No, we're not a highly taxed country.
Well, I think we are.
No, we're not.
I think
you should try living in Norway.
Well, okay.
Or Germany, or almost any other country in Europe where the taxes are higher.
Paying 45 pence in the pound on your earnings, I mean, to take nearly half your money is an outrage.
Well, you don't pay 45% on everything, do you?
Well, you do on a lot of it. And I see by the way, that the new overseas minister is saying we're going to have a look at the 7.2 billion we give every year in overseas aid, but we're still going to give it away.
Yeah,
just wants to give it away to somebody else.
No, a typical populist kind of attempt to try and get people to support
But
them.
anyway, I think there should be state aid for people who suffer badly from
how
the
much
heat.
would you like?
Well, I'd like some assistance.
Well, like what? How much?
I'm ignored. I'm ignored by the state, even though I have an affliction. And an affliction is I can't go out in hot weather.
You've got lots of afflictions.
I can't go out in very hot weather.
Well, then don't go out in it then.
It gives me a problem breathing, gives me a problem walking.
Well, don't go out in it then.
Well, I have to, because you have to go from A to B.
Well, don't make appointments when it's very hot.
Well, listen... Most people work...
I didn't fancy going out today because it was so hot, so I didn't.
Most people work on a basis of, I would say, about 8 a.m. to about 5 or 6 p.m., OK?
Most people do.
And you can only go and access the sort of services and facilities you need during those times.
Yeah, but I mean,
you have to go out.
Yeah, but you don't have to get on the tube, for example. I mean, if you had to get on the tube every day in this weather, you would absolutely be melting.
Yes, I would, but
As is everybody else who's on the tube.
I arrange my life to make sure that I don't have to do that.
Well,
but I
you
still
don't need
think
assistance then.
What?
You don't need assistance.
I still think it's unfair that if I come to London, right?
Yeah.
This is a very good point you've made. I couldn't go on the tube because I'd probably faint. I would literally faint because the heat affects me so badly. Therefore, I would
have you ever fainted?
No, not to my knowledge. No.
I fainted once.
Maybe in drink. I might have.
Well, you might have actually passed out.
Yeah, I've blacked out.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
Have you?
I think so.
That's quite worrying.
I think it is quite worrying, yeah.
I once fainted in the shower.
In the shower?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. It was just very hot.
It was like cold water on your neck or something?
No, it was nothing to do with cold water. It was the hot water. It was steam.
Oh. Where was this?
It was when I was a student, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a long time ago.
So it won't happen again, so don't worry about it.
I wasn't alone.
You were probably...
I was in the shower with somebody else.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I pity the poor person you're in the shower with, because you could have crushed them. You've fallen on top of them. It's like a baby elephant sitting down on a mouse.
Yeah, well, maybe I should get some assistance as well.
Well, all I'm saying is, so if I...
You're not going to get any sympathy for the people for this at all.
I think I will.
No.
If I come into the metropolis, right, and I have to go from A to B, you're absolutely right. I couldn't even dream of getting on the tube, because I would literally...
Well, the buses aren't much better.
Well, this is it. So I'd need a black cab. Now, why don't I get assistance to help me get across town?
Not every black cab has got air conditioning either.
Well, maybe not, but at least it's not crowded up with other people that are going to, impede your body space. And the other thing is, you can open both windows in a black cab and the air comes rushing through.
Yeah.
It does make it cooler, no doubt about it.
It does.
Provided the cab's moving and not stuck in an
all-day
traffic jam.
On the Thames Clipper, like you claim to do quite a lot.
Yeah, could do. But what I'm saying is, don't I deserve some sort of consideration?
You don't deserve anything.
I deserve some sort of consideration.
You've got plenty of money. You've actually got
that's
enough
irrelevant.
money. You've got enough money to have somebody following you around with a fan.
No, that's irrelevant.
Yes, you have.
It's irrelevant.
One of those outdoor fans. I saw them in Spain, actually, in Mallorca.
What?
You know, where they blow the small amounts of sort of water on you. It's like outdoor air conditioning. You've never seen it?
No, what is it?
It's some kind of stuff they're going to use for the World Cup in Doha. You know, I've seen it in Singapore as well.
Is it handheld, this thing?
No. They're, you can have them... I was in a cafe right down by the Palmer Cathedral, funny enough,
yeah.
and it was very, very hot.
Right.
And every about sort of 35 seconds, there would be a sort of a shh noise.
Yes.
And this spray of very, very fine water is sprayed all over everybody who's sitting in the cafe.
Oh, and does anybody object?
No,
it's very cooling.
It cools you down.
It sounds very good,
It's basically outdoor air conditioning.
Sounds very good indeed.
You could probably get a handheld version of it.
But I don't want to go on about this because, you seem to think that I'm making unjust demands. But surely, if you're incapacitated and the heat incapacitates me, then surely the National Health Service should have some consideration and allowance for me.
You've already cost the National Health Service and every single taxpayer in this country about 20 million quid.
No.
Thanks to all the treatment you've had to have over the years.
Well, listen.
So I think you've used up all your largesse, mate.
Are you saying now that you wouldn't have helped me because 1/3 of my heart works?
No.
Then I only needed help on occasion. I've fought for myself
You've been in
ever
hospital
since.
for months.
7 months.
Any idea how much that costs?
It costs a lot of money, but I mean, I didn't ask them to build a new heart unit for me. The heart unit was there, and I happened to take advantage of the facility.
What I'm saying is that compared to me, you have used up an awful lot more money from the NHS budget.
Yeah, but I've been an awful lot more ill physically than you have.
I don't care about that.
So,
I couldn't give a monkeys.
We are a compassionate society.
No, we're not a compassionate society. You're the least compassionate man I know.
No, and in this compassionate society, I believe that it's time that, we look at all sorts of other complaints that nobody had ever heard of years ago. For instance, we treat people now who have depression, which is a very good thing, of course. We treat people now for obesity. I sometimes wonder whether obesity is self-inflicted. We treat people for all sorts of conditions like alcoholism, which we never did in the past. I believe that we should treat people who are literally paralysed into immobility by...
well, you still haven't said how much you want.
By sunshine. Well, I would like somebody to take some notice and give me some assistance. That's what I want.
Pathetic. Absolutely pathetic.
No, it's not.
Dylan says this: the government can't control the weather, Porky. Get a grip. Def says, tell Porky to buy a hat, lose some weight, stop asking for state aid whilst driving his massive Merc. That's offensive. Steve says, it stops him breathing and walking, but hey, guess what? Doesn't stop him talking. We will pay him to stay at home.
Oh, that's very nice.
There's loads more like that.
Hang on. If somebody goes out in very cold weather, they sometimes catch a cold or they catch flu.
Well, you don't ask for compensation from the government, do you?
Yeah, you do. You use the National Health Service to treat those conditions. All I'm saying is there's no facility to treat a condition which I would define as...
Well, if you get heat stroke, you go to the hospital.
It is near... I would say heat exhaustion.
Really?
Heat exhaustion.
If only it would... You should get some more sleep.
Sunshine Symposia.
What?
That's something I've heard of.
Sunshine Symposia.
Sunshine Symposia.
I suppose you're talking a load of old bolloxios.
No, excuse me. There is actually there's a condition that when sun rays hit my skin, it literally incapacitates me. Surely there should be somebody helping me to get over that.
It didn't bother you in Mallorca,
but
jumping into my pool.
Yeah, but I could jump in and out the pool and keep my body temperature cool. When the sun rays hit your arm and you're walking, in a suburban street.
Wear a coat.
Well, I can't wear a coat because I would faint with the heat that the coat would impose upon me because it would not release the body.
It cools you down.
Heat.
Anyway, that's enough of your self-obsessed nonsense.
No.
Nobody's going to give you any money. Lose some weight. Stop complaining.
I deserve help.
And just get on with it. You don't deserve help. You deserve to be locked up. This is Talk Sport.
Where is my mind? Where is my mind? Where is my mind?
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. John Le Batillier's coming up in a little while to tell us the latest news on Hillary Clinton, what she may or may not be suffering from. But I'm afraid your plea for assistance from the state has fallen on rather deaf ears.
Yeah, it has. I mean, it's rather unkind, isn't it?
It is. Adrian says, tell Porky to lose some weight, the plank. And Woodenhead says, sadly Mike Parry wouldn't drive a car funded by the state because they wouldn't offer him a top-of-the-range BMW.
Old Bob here says, ha, 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 old Porky owns half the housing market in Britain and drives a top-of-the-range motor, wants benefits from the government. Is he having a laugh?
Yeah.
No, but you see, you don't understand. I want some recognition for my condition, not for me, but for other people. I suffer from sunshine symposia, which is a condition...
Nobody's heard of that.
I'm telling you, it's a condition in which when sun rays touch your skin, because because of the very delicate skin I have, fair skin.
Cover your skin up.
Look at those freckles, right?
Haven't I got
loads of freckles?
Well, that's your problem.
Haven't I?
It's not
It is my problem, I agree.
Well, cover
but
it
I
up.
deserve government help to try and get over the problem.
All right.
And I'm raising this not just for me, but for other people.
Well, Claire says this. Imagine the NHS paying for everyone who gets hot in an air-conditioned Merc. Sunshine Symposia. Why don't you grow a pair, Porky?
That's very harsh. Andy here says the only thing making this 2 a.m. call-out worth it is listening to old Porky on the Two Mike Show. Is there any funding for people who are affected by rain? Well, yes, there is. I've just pointed out to you that people who are affected by the rain get colds, they get pneumonia, they get the flu, and then they can go to their doctor and get free treatment to repair their condition.
It's not free, actually, no.
I don't get any free treatment
It's not
for
free.
the sunstroke
You pay for your
symptoms that I suffer.
You have to pay for a prescription if you are a working person.
Yeah, well, okay. Well, I don't mind paying for a prescription.
Don't
That's
you?
part of what happens these days.
No, maybe you should get some one of that. What do you call that? Pigmentation treatment, and get your skin changed into a different colour.
Why?
Well, go into reverse of Michael Jackson. Instead of, because he was going to try and make his skin lighter,
Yes.
you could try and make your skin darker.
No, it's
and
not
then you
that.
wouldn't be so susceptible to the sun.
It's not that, and I wouldn't
You
go
look
through.
better as well.
I wouldn't go
I've
through.
never seen anybody looking so white in my life
A
as when you turned up in
ridiculous,
Mallorca.
a ridiculous cosmetic sort of surgery operation.
John
I wouldn't
says
do
this,
anything like that.
if the sun affects Porky so much, he should roll around in the mud like a pig does. It keeps them cool.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to answer that because that's ridiculous. We're not pigs, and there's no rolling round.
Well, I mean, it does work, though.
Funny enough, you know, the old Comanches, you know, that bunch of Native Americans who were rushing
tribe,
around,
actually.
a tribe, rushing around in you know
Which part of America?
The Comanches were they were in the very hot part, Arizona and places like that, and South Dakota and all that kind of stuff. And do you know what they used to? You're absolutely right. They used to dig into.
Well, they used mud houses, didn't they?
Well, you had mud houses, but they'd also, if they were on the prowl, you know, like a raiding party or something like that, when it got very, very hot, they would actually dig themselves into soil beds, you know what I mean, to protect their skin from the sun.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
Well, that's what you may have to do. I mean, it was 34.4 degrees yesterday
and
in
I don't think it's
Gravesend.
going to be. I don't think it's going to be much
No,
better
it's
tomorrow.
going to be better tomorrow. It's going to be 28 tomorrow.
Oof. Yeah, but that's for me.
It's still very hot for September. Anyway,
yeah.
Listen, why don't I tell you more about these people I told you about in the first hour who get up very early in the morning?
Right, please do.
First up is Apple CEO Tim Cook.
Right.
He gets up at 3:45 a.m. And starts sending emails to people.
Which part of the world is this?
He's in California.
California, yeah. Okay, I understand
Michelle Obama is up at 4:30 every morning working out.
Is she?
Apparently.
Okay.
I don't know what she's working out.
No, I don't know. Well, working out in the gym.
Working out what to do now that her husband's no longer going to be president.
That's right, yeah.
Tim Armstrong is the CEO of AOL. All right, America Online. He starts his day at 5 a.m.
And where's that? Is that California?
That would I imagine. He's a former Google executive, so probably, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to tell you where all these people are specifically.
Well, you know, the reason I ask is because those guys are in the, you know, sort of Silicon Valley business, all that kind of stuff. I assume that that's a good time of the day to communicate with people in Japan and China and places like that. You see what I mean?
Maybe, but I mean, any time is a good time to do that in the end, because we now live in a 24-hour world.
Yeah, we do, but if somebody's in bed in China, they're not going to be receiving your email when they're in bed.
Well, the best time to get in contact with most parts of China is midnight, actually, before you go to bed.
Yes, but from which part of the world are you talking about?
From California.
So California at midnight.
Yeah.
Because
then you're in the working day of China,
well,
aren't you?
hang on. You from there, you'd go 8 back to London, so it would be 4 in the afternoon, okay?
Go forward to London.
Eh?
You go forward to London.
You go forward to
They're
London.
8 hours behind us.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So you go forward to London, so that's 8 a.m.
Yeah.
And then you'd go another 8 to China, so that would be...
Sort of 4 in the afternoon.
4 in the afternoon,
So
yeah.
the evening over there basically is better.
Okay, yeah.
Ursula Burns, you know who she is? She's
No.
the CEO of Xerox. She rises at 5:15.
Xerox still going, is it?
Apparently so. To email and to work out. CEO of
I
GE.
thought Xerox was like a photocopier company.
Well, it was, but I think they do other things now.
Yeah.
Jeff Immelt, he rises at 5:30 a.m. to work out.
Who's he work for?
He works for GE, General Electric.
Now, General Electric, you see, they're one of those famous companies in America because
they now own the Rainbow Room building, don't they? You know, Rockefeller Centre. Yeah,
do they?
It's now the GE building. It used to be the RCA building.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. That started off as a washing machine company, you know, and was built up into one of the world's greatest sort of electronic conglomerates.
Right.
Yeah.
PepsiCo's CEO, a woman called Indra Nui, is in the office by 7 a.m.
Yeah.
How about this one? Next Desk Director Dan Lee starts his day at 3:30. First thing he does when he wakes up is drink 2 litres of water, followed by 2 cups of coffee and a smoothie.
Yeah.
Then he spends 30 minutes with his dog, followed by an hour of reading.
Yeah, you see, I don't get all this.
I think that's too much liquid, isn't it?
Well, 2 litres of water is far too much to consume in one go.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's nearly 4 pints.
I've got a big jug of water here, but I won't drink
that's over the course of the next 3 hours, or the course of 3 hours. That is a ridiculous amount of...
Yeah.
And by the way, I've read a lot of reports in my medical journals that all these people who say, I drink water all day, it's good to my skin. It's not that good for your skin.
Well,
it's
water,
not that
generally
good for your
speaking,
skin.
is good for you. You should drink a lot of water.
No, it's to overhydrate yourself is not good for you. Believe me, it can give you brain problems and all sorts of things.
I find if I drink a lot of water, I feel much better about life in
that's fair
general.
enough. Because
Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey wakes up before dawn for a 6-mile run.
Right, OK. Well, that's all right. That's about 5:30, isn't it? You know, in certain parts of the world, before dawn.
Sergio Marchionne, do you know who he is? He's the CEO of Fiat Chrysler.
Fiat Chrysler.
He wakes up at 3:30 a.m.
Yeah, what time
to
do these
deal with
guys
the European market.
Go to bed, do you think?
Well, I mean, my former father-in-law used to be one of those guys that got up at 5 o'clock every morning, right?
Yes.
Because he lived in America of the Depression and all that.
Yeah.
He used to go to bed at 9 o'clock every night.
9, so that's
I'm just
hours sleep.
about getting going then.
Yeah, I know, yeah. You see, again, during these very hot days and all that, I would never sleep for more than about 90 minutes at a time if I slept that. And then, excuse me, it's a very light sleep, you know what I mean?
So you're always waking up.
Always waking up.
Maybe you drink too much tea while you're here.
No, I don't, honestly. See, this is another way in which the state could help me. Because I have
You're not getting any money from the state. Forget about it.
Hang on. Because I have such difficulty with the heat and coping with the heat, why don't I get a grant from the government to install permanent air conditioning in my home?
Why don't you just put it in anyway? You can afford it.
Well, I shouldn't have to pay for it.
Why not?
Well, because it's a disability in a
rubbish.
way. It is.
Absolute rubbish.
No, it is.
I've never heard so much.
Why should I have to spend
nonsense?
Tens of thousands of pounds
because you want to.
No, but
you're the one that's saying you have to have special treatment.
Yeah.
You don't. Well, you just have to get over yourself.
No, I don't. I think you've been very unsympathetic here. If you had this sort of affliction I've got,
you haven't got any kind of affliction.
I have got an affliction.
You keep telling me you got an affliction, but it doesn't seem to affect anything you do.
Well, you say that, but I mean, you don't understand, and until you've actually been in hospital bed for 7 months, pal, you won't understand about afflictions.
I'm not even sure you were in hospital bed.
Oh,
for
really?
7
Where
months.
do you think I was? Then? Do you think I was on holiday in Mallorca?
I've no idea where you were.
Idiot.
Here's a woman who was put away for a while. Martha Stewart. She only sleeps 4 hours a night. That might be an account of her incarceration. For insider trading.
Yeah, what does she run?
Well, she used to run this. She had a TV company.
That's right. Yeah,
she had
all of
a
that.
cookery business. I mean, she was.
And then she started
a very powerful.
Wasn't she accused of embezzling the company money?
She was accused of insider trading. Basically.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and making money in a way that was not entirely honest.
Yeah,
and she did go to prison.
She did.
So maybe that's why she only sleeps 4 hours a night.
Yeah.
Anyway, the list goes on and on. Richard Branson's on the list as well. Apparently, he gets up at about 5:45, even when staying at his private island. Leaving the curtains drawn so the sun gets him up.
Well, I've been there. I've stayed in his bedroom in
Maybe
Necker.
you'd like some special.
He's got a plunge pool at the end of his bed.
For that. Yeah.
He has,
anyway, so that's all the famous people
that
that get up very early.
I agree, but I think getting up early is great. I think if you see the day's your own when you get up because you're around and nobody else is. You've got the advantage of being able to work on things while other people are dozing and asleep and dozy, and it is a tremendous start to the day.
If you've got the advantage of working in such a job that you don't have to work 9 hours a day like everybody else. In addition to that, but some of these people do. They might rise at 3:30 in the morning, but they're working still until 6 or 7 o'clock at night.
Well, you could say that of us.
Not really.
We have, we have a lot of things to deal with.
We've always got things going on, but it's not the same as physically going to an office and having to do all that, though, is it?
Well, I don't see it's that much different. In fact, I find that working in an office gives you energy and creativity amongst other people, and self-discipline and having to do it yourself is the hardest form of work, without a shadow of a doubt.
Stephen quite astutely says Porky's heat problem didn't stop him trying to bed Sarah at the Savoy.
What?
Do you want any assistance for the bill you had to incur there while you were buying lashings of champagne?
Sorry, say again?
Would you like some government assistance to pay for the lashings of champagne?
No. That was
you forked out.
That was a business plan, and I do dreadfully resent, smutty insinuations about why Sarah and I were.
Well, why
meeting.
was you handle her Harris then?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't at all. It was
the time.
That was a pose for the picture.
Was
that was all. Yeah.
Oh right. Yeah. You told me it wasn't even your hand.
No, I don't think it was. Honest to God, I don't think it was. It doesn't look like a hand to me. It looks like something else.
It's a fake hand.
No, it looks like I think
carry it around with you.
I think she'd put her bag behind her. Seriously, I think it's her bag. I think it's her bag.
Okay, well, we'll have people look at the picture and see
exactly,
what they say.
yeah.
Anyway, coming up next, John Le Boutillier, expert on American politics, will tell us how Hillary's doing. This is talkSPORT. This is talkSPORT. We are the two mics, and you have to say, Mr. Parry, this has been one of the most unusual presidential campaigns I think anybody has ever seen. I mean, you and I have covered some of the more traditional ones, Clinton's campaigns, Reagan's campaigns. I mean, all the stuff that you've read about in the past, which has been relatively easy to check, relatively easy to telegraph, relatively easy to predict. Instead, what we have is Hillary Clinton against Donald Trump, which nobody ever really thought would happen, is now happening. Hillary Clinton is now being accused of keeping things from the great American public.
Absolutely,
because she concealed the fact that she was suffering pneumonia. It was only discovered when she collapsed. Let's talk to our old friend, Mr. John Le Boutillier, to find out what he makes of it all. John, a very good morning to you. Welcome.
Good morning, Mike and Mike. Always great to hear from you, too.
Well,
yourself,
I mean, who would have thought that in sort of mid-September, literally a month and a half away from the actual voting process for the ex-president of the United States of America, a dose of pneumonia would be such a big deal?
Well, let me correct one thing, Mike. We're not a month and a half or 2 months away from the voting process. The voting has begun in 2 states this past week. And in another couple of weeks, when we get into October, 38 states will undergo what we now call early voting.
Okay.
Where polling stations open on certain days of the week so that people can go vote then, instead of waiting till Election Day.
That's unusual, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it's a new phenomenon. And in 2012, 1/3 of the entire vote of this country was already recorded before Election Day.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
And in the places,
trend.
And I was going to say, in the places where these votes are going to be cast in those 38 states, I mean, is it going to be easy to predict the whole result from it, as it were, or does it depend on what's going on?
Well, no, and the studies of what happened 4 years ago have shown that that was Romney against Obama. Romney did better in the early voting, was ahead by 7 or 8 points. And then in the real voting on election, not real, but the final voting on election date, Obama did much better and overcame that. In other words, his voters decided later and vote on Election Day, which makes some sense. The Republican vote tends to be older, whiter. They have more free time because they're retired, say, so they're in Florida, they can go vote on a Wednesday 3 weeks before the election to get it out of the way to avoid waiting in line on Election Day. Okay. But it affects the campaign heavily because it used to be all your TV commercials, all your campaigning, everything was aimed at having the voters decide the last week, especially the last weekend.
Yeah, sure.
Now you've got to think, my God, there's a 6-week period when they're deciding and voting. I've got a peak in effect for 6 weeks, starting in early October, really.
Indeed.
So anyway, I just thought I had to tell you guys.
No, John, that's great. Now, John, getting to the candidates now, and Hillary in particular. Now, this health scare now has been exacerbated by Bill Clinton, twice former president of your country, admitting quite openly, and I'm not sure if he knew what he was saying, oh, no, Hillary's had plenty of these dehydration problems over the years. She's collapsed several times with dehydration. Now, what on earth is going on here? Because aren't the American people very sensitive to the health conditions of prospective presidential candidates?
Well, I would actually say no, they're not.
Okay.
I would say that not one vote is going to be changed as of today.
Okay.
Because of what we're talking about regarding Hillary's health. Now, that could change if she doesn't get better from this pneumonia. If she shows up in these 3 big debates, especially the first one on September 26th. If she shows up and is coughing and not looking great and clearly not functioning well, then it is going to become an issue.
Well, it will. And also it's become an issue as well, John, has it not? Not just for the illness itself, which, anybody can catch pneumonia, I guess, if you're unlucky.
But for not telling people.
But for sort of hiding it, because it's now led back to this whole thing about what have the Clintons got to hide.
Yeah, but I think that everyone feels that health is a separate issue, and I could argue against this, but they're thinking, I think the voters think your health is your business. And we have all these privacy laws in this country that prevent anybody from knowing about what your condition is and what medicine you're on and all that stuff. Now, that really shouldn't apply to a president. President works for us. We're hiring this person to be our president. We have every right to know. Are we hiring someone who might not be able to do the job because of an underlying health condition that if we knew about it, we wouldn't vote for them? That we do have that right. But as of now, there's no law in any way that mandates they tell us anything. And they don't. Most presidents and future presidents tell you very little about their health.
But, John, you must have seen the way that this has been covered, and whether you think it's affecting the vote or not, the way that it's been covered is to feed in all the email controversy, to feed in, the funding of the Clinton Foundation, the way that the Clintons operate as a couple. It all feeds into that narrative about secrecy, doesn't it? Okay, but let's take that. The voters already know that they can't trust Hillary. The polls have shown 57% of them say she should have been indicted for the email scandal. She's got this huge rating of not being honest and trustworthy. And despite that, she's ahead of Trump virtually in every poll in every state. So what does that tell us about what they think? Obviously, they think less of Trump even than they do of her. And the big phenomenon over here, I'm sure you hear about it in England, is you walk up to any American and they basically say to you, I hate both of them. I don't want to vote for either one. I've never seen anything like it. And and we got a long way to go. We got 8 weeks to go till we finally know what happens. And this thing's going to have other twists and turns.
I'm sure it will. Now, one of those twists and turns, John, could be, because you've raised this with us over the last couple of minutes, if she's coughing and spluttering, I mean, will she have to stand down? And if she stands down, what does that do to the presidential nomination situation? Who will step in? Who will be nominated? Which body then selects a new candidate?
Well, we know how that works, but there's complications. First of all, the Democratic National Committee, which is 156, I believe, human beings, they would meet an emergency session to pick a new nominee if she stepped down. They can't make her step down, but if for whatever reason she announces, I can't run, I'm sick, I'm dying, whatever, boom, they now have to pick a new nominee. 156 people meet, they pick somebody. The problem is the ballots in most states are already or are in the process of being printed. The machines are being set up with the names on there.
Exactly.
It's in many states the name Hillary Clinton's on that ballot, whether she's running or not.
That's right. Yeah. So what happens? Who do you vote for?
It's unclear now. We have a funny system where the vote for president is not the vote for president.
Yeah, I see.
You are voting for electors.
Yes.
Each state has electors. Like my state, New York, has, I think, 33 electors.
Yeah, on the college system.
In the Electoral College, which meets like the second week in December.
Exactly.
And they are human beings. So if they choose to go in there and say, well, even though they voted for Trump in my state, I'm not voting for Trump, I'm voting for Clinton, they can do that. And that screws the whole thing up. So this is the kind of year something weird is going to happen. You can just feel it.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Really weird.
Which must be really causing havoc in the sort of the halls of DC and inside the Beltway and in the media.
And what about Wall Street?
Well, nobody knows what is going on. I mean, does it matter who either of these guys have got as their running mates? Do they pull any weight at all, or not really?
No, they're completely irrelevant to the campaign. No one pays any attention to them. They will have one vice presidential debate in October, and that's a big yawn.
Right.
And no one cares. The only time you care about a VP candidate is if he or she screws up. Yeah. And these two are very competent. They're not screwing up.
And what about from the Republicans' point of view? Because in a way, whether Trump wins or not, and lots of people, I think, in this country can't bear the thought of him winning. But, I mean, the Republican Party's kind of almost finished already, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But there's still a congressional Republican Party that will control the House. And we're very close to keeping the Senate or not. It'll be within one or two Senate votes. And first of all, what I tell people always is it's vital for us Republicans to keep the House and the Senate so that even if Hillary is president, she can't do as much because we are there blocking her and forcing her to work with us and us to work with her, which worked well with her husband. Her husband, Bill Clinton, a Democrat, Republican Congress, they actually did well together. So that is a model that could possibly happen. But I can tell you that in secret, most Republicans in Washington, D.C. hope that she wins. They don't want Trump.
The lesser of well, I mean,
fiasco.
Well, that's it. I mean, they know how to fight somebody like her, I suppose, but they wouldn't know what to do with Trump. John,
exactly.
We'll be talking to you again, I'm sure, more and more frequently as we get down to the wire and as the voting starts, because that's a fascinating little fact he told us. John Lebetillier there, former congressman himself, of course, telling us what's going on. Nobody knows, which is what's fascinating about it.
Absolutely right.
Absolutely nobody knows. Hillary's going back to campaigning on Thursday, tomorrow, after, according to her aides, taking time out to recover from pneumonia.
Yeah, that's
right.
right.
You don't take time out to recover from pneumonia. I mean, you can die from pneumonia.
I was about to say, I've been in hospitals where people in the next ward have been incapacitated through pneumonia.
Yeah.
Quite seriously.
I mean, my father actually ended up dying of pneumonia. He was a very weak old man by that stage. But the thing that actually killed him was the pneumonia.
That's right.
You can't mess around with it.
I mean, if she's coughing and spluttering like she did the week before she collapsed, right? I mean, she can't then present herself as the answer to the person who should run America. If she then has to step down, as John just explained, America are in no man's land because the ballot papers have already been issued to vote for Hillary Clinton. Yeah. It's a mess.
It really is.
They'd have to postpone the election. They'd have to postpone the election.
Almost anything is possible. James says this. Did I hear Porky say sunshine symposia?
Yes.
Wow. Porky will stoop to new lows now by making up conditions.
No, not
Hashtag plank.
Not at all.
Nobody's ever heard of it.
Brian here says, I'm with Porky on this one. I suffer from sunshine symposia. Let's get a petition started, Porky, to have recognition. Brian, thank you very much indeed. That's the most supportive message I've had all night.
That's one person.
Yeah.
One person that supports you. We've got lots more coming up, of course, including Ask Porky in the next hour. This is talkSPORT.
The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on talkSPORT and Talk Radio.
This is talkSPORT. We are the Two Mics. Lots more coming up. There will be a podcast coming out. There's also, by the way, some of you have seen it already, a new video out on Two Mics TV. Would you like to tell them about it, Porky?
What was that again?
Well, you're not listening to me,
of course
are you?
I'm listening to you.
No, you're not listening to me.
I am. I'm sorry.
Have you got heat stroke?
Well, I'm just worried that I do get it, so I was just modulating the temperature.
Well, I was just telling the listeners that there's a new video out there on Two Mics TV.
Well, there is.
Which is titled "Vera Uncovers Another Crime."
Right, now what it is that we're at Whitley Bay a week on Saturday, okay?
Yes, we are.
And we've had just one rogue message from somebody saying difficult to buy tickets. It's not difficult, honestly.
Well, hopefully it's not, no.
If you go to the2mics.co.uk, which is our official website, which, by the way, has been rebuilt and will be represented as a brand new spanking information location.
Or brand spanking new, even.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I said, yeah.
There's a brand new spanking website. I mean something else.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, sorry, it's not a spanking website. Believe me, it's not. It's not. Nothing to do with it. It's just an expression. But anyway, the point is, that's where there's a link to the ticket line for the tickets to Whitley Bay.
Yeah.
The tickets
you can also find those links on Twitter as well.
You find those links on Twitter, no problem at all. And what we've done tonight is a little sketch, okay, because we like to amuse and keep you people interested.
You people.
Sorry?
You people.
No, our people, our followers, our listeners.
You people.
The millions out there.
Millions. A bit rude.
No, I'm sorry. I did not wish to be harsh there. I meant all of us. We are one big family. And you can find that on Two Mics TV. But you can also find it on Twitter. There's a link on it. And it will give you some indication as to the fun and frivolity and the bladderation trail that we're going to hit when we get to Whitley Bay week on Saturday.
Absolutely right. And Stuart, who was complaining that it's very, very annoying to try and buy the tickets, hopefully you'll find a way through that, and it shouldn't be. We haven't had anyone else complain about it so far, but if it's a massive problem, do get back to us.
Indeed.
Now, I've got a picture here of you supposedly sunbathing.
I've seen it.
But I think it's from Sexy Beast.
Is it?
Yeah, movie, Sexy Beast.
This one's from Paul Thompson, actually.
Yeah,
and it's a
that's
picture.
him, yeah.
That's a picture of a man. Literally looks like he's been pinned to the ground on a bed lounger, a sun lounger, and he looks in serious trouble. He literally looks like the colour of braised beef.
He does, yeah. But slightly underdone as well.
Slightly underdone. Now, another one here from Stephen. He says, and this is addressed to you, MG.
Oh, yeah.
Superb performance, MG, by you over Porky's heat rant. The only reason it happened is because of the picture of your Villa pool causing massive jealousy.
Yeah, I imagine that's probably
what's that mean?
true.
What's that mean?
Well, I think he's just saying that, you were so impressed by that great villa that I had that you're slightly jealous of it.
Oh, who, me?
Yeah.
No. I came out there and, put my soul and body literally on the line because we had a bit of business to do out there. We had a bit of a video to do and all that kind of stuff.
I was on holiday, though.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, the point is, mate, you can't just whisk off on holiday and
you can.
shed yourself of all your responsibilities.
My life involves holidays, right? And yours doesn't, unfortunately. So, I mean, we're going to have to come to some arrangement about that.
Yes.
They're already showing up on all my holidays saying we've got business to do.
Well,
that's why I take a holiday.
Well,
not to do business.
Anyway, James, James here says, ha, ha, ha.
You've got no concept of a holiday, have you?
Well,
the holiday's meant to be where you relax, you take time out, you spend it with your family, you don't think about work. That's what it's meant to be.
I do think that when the day of reckoning comes and you weigh up what you've done with your life, you will tick off those 2 weeks here and 2 weeks there as a complete waste of time.
Absolutely
really.
not, no. Some of the greatest times of my life I've had on holiday.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
You see, you think that's a bad thing.
Now, James here says, ha, 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 Porky's getting all hot under the collar about being hot under the collar. Ha, ha, ha. Get it?
Very true.
Yeah, I do get it. Yeah, I appreciate the joke, James. Thank you very much indeed.
Robbie has sent an interesting text in to 81089. He says, your man in the States is painting a very different picture to my two relatives in America, one in Illinois and one in Arizona.
Oh, right.
On my regular communications with the pair of them, they both say it's a media cover-up. Trump is miles more popular than you think, and it's Hillary no one likes or trusts. They say their media are traitors, misinforming and manipulating news to favour Hillary. Do they also listen to Alex Jones, possibly, as well, Robbie? One of them also says there's a vicious rumour that it is Michelle Obama who would replace Hillary to keep that woman running the state's theme.
Well,
I think there are plenty of people who are Trump supporters who think that the media are to blame for almost everything in the world.
Well,
and Hillary Clinton's a very evil woman. The truth may be somewhere in the middle, I think.
Funny enough, I was reading some editorials recently from the New York Times.
Oh, yeah.
And, I mean, the way they lambast Trump as some sort of devil, you know what I mean? Some sort of man who, would literally tear America apart.
Well, he's changed the rules on everything. Because, I mean, even Barack Obama came out yesterday and said, the things that Donald Trump has come out and said would normally disqualify anyone from ever being a candidate for the presidency of the United States of America. But in this particular race, partly because Hillary Clinton is so unpopular, he's getting away with it.
Yeah, he is getting away with it, yeah.
It's an amazing situation.
But it's amazing that, some of the things that Donald Trump actually does, which deserve praise, i.e. straight talking, all that kind of stuff, are lambasted to everybody as being, these are not presidential qualities and all this kind of stuff. It's like he's in a no-win situation. But then again, you and I know that the eastern seaboard of America is so liberal, it's unbelievable, isn't it?
Well, I mean, a lot of it is, but not all of it. I mean, in the end, the problem is
certainly around the big cities, if you know what I mean. I mean, not certainly New England and all that, but certainly, New York, basically.
Well, New York is, but D.C. is a strange place. You can't really quite work that out.
Well, D.C.'s kind of neutral, I've always found, in the sense that nobody actually tells you what side they're on, you know what I mean? Because it's like the civil service.
But also the thing about Trump is that he is now regarded as somebody who is outside the system.
Yes.
And that's why a lot of people would like to see him becoming the president.
Yes.
Because they don't think he's part of that whole Washington sort of cabal, exactly right.
Yeah.
Now, how about this from Claire, who says Porky needs to come and work a 12-hour shift in a hospital and then talk sunshine.
I don't quite understand that.
Well, I think it means that you don't work very hard, so therefore you shouldn't be complaining about how bad the heat is.
I work very hard, honestly. I try to put in a decent day's work every day because I feel that's why...
Yeah, but you haven't got a very difficult job, as jobs go. I mean, it's not a manual job.
Well, it requires a lot of thought.
Well, a lot of thought, but that's a very privileged position to be in.
Well, thinking...
Some people have to go and lift bags all day.
Thinking can...
Or drive a bus all day.
Yeah, I know.
For a lot less money than you make.
Yeah, but hang on. You were arguing the case last week when we were talking about it. That history's great philosophers are, brilliant men and, their contribution to the world.
Many of them were. Well, you're suggesting you're now in the same area as Kant.
Excuse me.
Immanuel Kant.
Oh, I've never heard of him. I'm sorry about that. Rather shocked me, though. I thought you'd lost the plot there. No. What I'm saying is that I say that, yes, I've contributed a lot to the way people think. The millions of people who listen to TalkSport will have been influenced by some of my better...
You really believe that, don't you?
Hang on. My better-than-average views on the way life works, without a shadow of a doubt.
Right.
And that's what we're here for, to create discussion and to communicate. I regard myself as a communicator.
Yeah.
However...
Yeah, but it's a pretty easy job compared to a lot of people's jobs, is my point.
No, I'm sorry. How do you can't say it's a pretty easy
Why?
job. Because...
You're in a very privileged position.
Yes, but I mean...
You make money by talking.
Yes, I know, but I have to talk about things that people are interested in, and a lot of people can't do that.
Yeah.
And so, I mean,
a lot of people can't do what you do. There's no doubt about that.
Look,
but that doesn't make you, some great hero of the working class.
No, a lot of people can't play guitar, but John Lennon could.
Right.
So, that's why he was good at that.
A lot of people can play a guitar, but they're not as good as John Lennon.
Well, that's absolutely right.
And they're also not dead.
Yeah, that's right. A lot of people
but
can
they will
talk.
never make the money that he's making now that he's actually dead.
Yeah, well, that's another story. Yeah. But you're right. A lot of people can. In fact, we can all talk. All human beings can talk.
Yeah.
But I mean, not a lot of them want to, or are able to, or have been taught to talk in a manner which then creates.
Yeah. But what I'm saying
stimulates
is,
thought.
But what I'm saying is, it's a relatively easy job compared to working 12 hours in a factory, or 12 hours in a hospital, or 12 hours, doing manual labour.
I don't accept
sweeping
that.
the streets.
I don't accept that. When I was
a man of the people.
When I was humping,
what? Sarah.
No, excuse me. You have to bring it down to that level. When I was humping cases of Bonio around in the supermarket, in the supermarket warehouse.
I didn't know they made it then.
I tell you what, I knew exactly what to do. The lorry came in with the cases of Bonio. I took them off the lorry and I put them on the shelves.
Well, doing that for 12 hours is harder than what you do now.
Yeah, but no, that was easy. I knew exactly what to do. What I have to do now is use my intellect and my intellectual capacity and ability and my personality to try and form arguments and discussions and debates that people will get involved in. That is much harder than humping around cases of Bonio.
Would you mind using your intellect to look at the time occasionally?
See the time.
Because we're already out of it once again. Coming up in the next hour, we've got Ask Porky. We'll be finding out more from the man of the people, the people's champion, indeed. This is TalkSport. We are the two mics. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. As we mentioned, we're going to be at Whitley Bay at the Playhouse there on the 24th of September. That's a week on Saturday. I noticed, by the way, you put out a tweet earlier on in the day, which I meant to bring up earlier, in which you said something to the effect that, if any Sunderland fans would like to make, an issue of what I said about the Everton game, I'll be at Whitley Bay on the 24th of September.
That's right,
To which I responded, well, you're going on your own, are you?
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, there's the two mics we're talking about here.
Well, yes, but I mean, the point is, I was inviting them to throw tomatoes at me, so I didn't think you'd
I'm
want to be
on
included.
the stage. I don't want I don't want people throwing tomatoes at you, so I throw them back.
I didn't think you'd want to be included in that sort of, raucous behaviour.
Well, I don't think you should be encouraging people to throw anything at us on the stage.
I think people will know exactly what I was saying, that Everton had a fantastic result. It's in the northeast of England, and we're going to be on stage there a week on Saturday.
Your mate Liam Gallagher and his brother Noel used to walk off the stage and they got bottles thrown at them. In fact, they did it when I saw them at Hampden Park, promoted by our good friend Mr. McLeod.
Yes.
They came on stage and they said, if you don't stop throwing bottles, we're walking off.
Really?
And then nobody stopped throwing them, so they walked off.
Really?
And they had to, to calm everybody down for a while before they come back on. So I don't want you to start to encourage people to throw stuff at us.
Well, I mean, that's a bit harsh, isn't it?
They're very harsh,
I didn't know anybody ever threw bottles at them, to be honest. But,
it was part of the ritual of going to see them, apparently, at one point, because they were so hard. They were these hard guys from Manchester,
Right.
But what about Newcastle last night? Because, funnily enough, earlier on, when
6-0.
there was all the football action going on in the studio, the various multiple interior screens that we have. I was watching, just out of the corner of my eye, QPR against Newcastle.
That's right.
And at one point I thought, is that the Barcelona game? Because of the hoops.
I know.
Just very quickly they look like they're getting horsed just as badly as Celtic were in Barcelona.
Yeah, I know. And
worst defeat in their history, I think, at home, isn't it? QPR.
Well, it sounds like it could be. I didn't see that statistic, but the thing is, Rafa lost his first game, didn't he, when he was in charge of Newcastle?
Yeah.
And everybody thought, is this a false dawn and all that? But since then, they've just sort of moved up to another gear. Yeah. And it's them and Huddersfield now at the top, isn't it?
Does look like Huddersfield lost last night, I think, as well.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, and it looks to me like Newcastle just sort of, the class of Benitez in that league has to show, really, doesn't it?
You would think,
in the sense that he'll know how to bring all the things together.
And they've kept a few of the players as well, haven't they?
Yeah, they have. Yeah. Now, also, we've put out a little video about what we're doing in
Whitley Bay.
Whitley Bay.
Yes, we have.
Whitley Bay's a lovely place, by the way.
Is it?
Yeah,
I've never been there.
Well, do you know what? There's the strangest thing. You won't believe it. Talk about going full circle.
Yeah.
Now, the Playhouse is at the end of a road called Marine Avenue. and we're staying in the York Hotel, which is nearby, okay?
Yeah.
Which is great. But what's your problem?
I've just seen a tweet from Dom.
Yeah.
I'll throw some tomatoes at Porky, but they'll be in tins.
Oh, right, okay, yeah. I'll have to butt them away.
We'll bring a tennis racket.
They'll bring a tennis racket, yeah. Now, what I was going to say is, can you believe that about 35 years ago, I lived in a bed and breakfast establishment at the other end of Marine Avenue.
Did you?
Yeah.
In Whitley Bay?
Yeah, in Whitley Bay. It's unbelievable. What happened was...
is there a beach there?
In Whitley Bay, I think it's a shale beach.
Shale?
I think it's a kind of shale beach, yeah.
Is there like a marina?
No. No, it's called Marine Avenue, as in, like, marine
No, I know that,
life
but I
and
mean,
all that.
normally there would be, if it's in a seaside sort of spot, there'd be a few boats tied up.
I don't think there are.
No?
I don't think so.
No fishing boats or anything?
No, it's not that sort of place. I mean, if you went to Bournemouth, you wouldn't see fishing boats. You know what I mean?
Well, no.
It's that sort of place.
Is
you know
it?
what I
Oh,
mean?
right.
It's not
What's
like
the Bournemouth of the North?
Not really, but it's not like Whitby. It's not a port, with a harbour and all that. It's just
Whitby's
it's the
very
seafront.
pretty, isn't it?
It's very pretty. It's the seafront,
Yeah.
But anyway, the point of the story is, so I left the Chester Chronicle and went off to Newcastle, and I was told to find myself some digs, in the sort of coastal area, because what I didn't know then, I was going to be posted to the North Shields office.
Okay.
Now, North Shields is right at the sort of mouth of the River Tyne.
Yeah, I met someone from North Shields when we played the show in Newcastle.
Oh, okay, yeah,
he came
great.
up and talked to us afterwards.
Oh, all right, that's great, yeah, fine.
Kevin,
and then just round the corner on the coast, so to speak, is Whitley Bay, where for decades, every Scotsman in Scotland during the 2-week, they used to have a 2-week industrial break when everything closed down.
Well, they used to call it Glasgow Fair.
The Glasgow Fair, they'd all head to Whitley Bay or Blackpool, but a lot of them to Whitley Bay. Now, the point is, so I, literally was patrolling the streets with a bag, knocking on doors, and eventually, they said, I need a place for a month. I said, because, I'm trying to find somewhere more permanent and all that kind of stuff. And
you were quite a callow youth at this point.
I was a callow youth. I was about, just 20 or something like that. And she said, yes, come on, and I got a room. So, anyway, I remember, actually, this is quite interesting. So, so this was on a Saturday afternoon. Anyway, I sort of went down to, had a sort of lounge there. It was like a mini hotel, stroke.
Well, there are other sort of ne'er-do-wells staying
this is what I'm about to say to you.
Travelling salesmen, those kind of people.
Yeah, well, I suppose so. But there was, I went into the sort of lounge. There was a chap just sitting there reading the paper, watching the telly.
Right.
And I said, hello, how are you? He got talking. This guy turned out to be a Bermudan.
Oh,
right? Isn't that unusual?
Well, I suppose so.
I suppose that he's a natural Bermudan, born and brought up in Bermuda.
What was he doing in Whitley Bay?
He was a student. And he was going to Newcastle University.
Okay.
And I said, interesting. Anyway, it got to sort of 5 o'clock. In those days, the pubs didn't open until 5:30. It's not like now.
Did the lounge not have a little bar then?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't even that big. It was definitely a bed and breakfast, but it had a lounge, for people to sit in, that kind of stuff, And I think it was the lounge that converted into the breakfast room or something like that,
Yeah.
Because she used to leave me made up sort of sausage patties every morning.
I've got to talk to you about breakfast, actually.
Well,
I'll come to that in a minute.
Yeah, okay.
Go on.
So I said to this Bermudan guy, I said, it's 5:30. I said, I don't know about you. I said, but I always fancy a bit of a sort of livener this time of night, And he
you
said,
not did any work at this point?
Well, I'd only just arrived.
Oh, right,
Saturday I'd arrived. I was due to start work on the Monday morning.
Okay.
So I thought that gave me 36 hours of bladderation, So he said he couldn't get his head around this concept, He said, I said, go to the pub for a drink, you see. Right, okay, and so because in Bermuda they only have hotels, you know what I mean, that kind of stuff.
Well, they don't have bars.
Well,
they must have bars in Bermuda.
I did a job in Bermuda. I don't remember.
I've never
seeing
been to
any
Bermuda.
Bars. Yeah, I have. Pink sand.
Yes.
And they don't allow you. Don't allow high cars.
Really?
You can't hire a car in Bermuda.
Really?
You can hire motorbikes, which you can ride around, but you cannot hire cars. You can only drive a car if you are a Bermudan resident with a Bermudan resident driving licence. Yeah.
How bizarre.
And that's how they stopped it becoming like Barbados.
Yeah.
Every Friday afternoon when the flights are coming and going out, Barbados just locks up on the roads, because of the thousands of hire cars and taxis and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Anyway, point of the story is.
Yeah.
I said, we go to the pub. Well, where is it? I said, it's at the bottom of the hill.
No.
I said,
You'd already scoped it out.
Yeah, of course I had. Yeah, I'd worked that out. He said, oh, okay. He said, that sounds all right. So we go down there, and he asked for half a bitter, and I said, half? So wouldn't you like a pint? He said, well, how big is a pint? So I said, well, this is this size.
Yeah.
Well, he said, that's an awful lot of fluid to drink. I said, well, all right. So
I was just about to down 20 of them.
That's right. Yeah. Exactly, yeah. Anyway, the point of the story is the inevitable happened. This guy got absolutely smashed out of his face on about 6 halves of bitter.
Right. And you had to drag him back.
Well,
or did you just leave him to his own devices?
He went a bit mad. He actually went a bit mad. No, honestly. And he went. He went waving his
gaga.
He went gaga, and he staggered out the pub, started singing, waving his arms around, and wanted to go on the beach.
Oh dear.
Yeah, because he'd come from Bermuda, and everybody goes on the beach. But the point is, this was kind of, sort of November in Whitley Bay.
You could have killed the guy.
Could have killed the guy. Anyway, we went missing for about 4 hours, and the police eventually brought him home to the B&B. And one of the reasons it took so long to get him home was he hadn't even bothered taking out any identification. He didn't know who he was or whatever.
Well, you didn't really need it in those days, did you?
Well, you did if you couldn't remember which B&B you'd booked into and didn't know where to go back to. That was the point. You know what I mean? So it was...
that was a shocking first day then for you.
It was absolutely shocking. I asked him on the Sunday lunchtime, if he wanted to come for a heart warmer, and he just said he was too ill.
Yeah.
And he'd never drink again.
Yeah.
So I'm afraid that wasn't a great introduction for him to British way of life.
Absolutely shocking. Shocking. Well, what I was going to tell you was that there's been a report done. I know you're very keen on these reports.
Yes.
This has been done by treated.com.
Oh, yes.
And a doctor is involved, and they've come up with a list of the most unhealthy breakfasts you can eat on the high street.
Okay.
And guess which is the most unhealthy?
Well, I don't know what you mean by that. Do you mean the full English?
Well, the one that has the worst sort of most saturated
cholesterol
fat,
and all that,
most salt, most sugar, and all of
it's
that.
the full English.
It's not only the full English; it's the large breakfast that they serve at Wetherspoons.
Oh, really?
1,500 calories.
Oh, blimey! Because that's a really, really nice breakfast. I've had that several times.
I'm looking at a picture of it. It's got 2 eggs, 3 sausages, 3 hash browns, 2 pieces of toast, a mushroom, and some baked beans.
Yeah. Well, guess what? When I have it, I have 4 sausages and no egg.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I have the extra sausage with no eggs. I don't eat eggs.
Well, I know you don't eat eggs.
I think it's lovely.
But that may not help you, though, because according to this, the large breakfast at Wetherspoons has got 1,531 calories in it.
Yeah.
Which is not good.
Well, do you know what? I know people who eat that breakfast and then don't eat anything that day until they go home for their evening meal at night.
Well, does it mean they don't have any lunch?
Yeah, don't have
any
lunch
at all. I'm not surprised. Once you eat all that, you wouldn't be hungry.
So, I don't think it's that bad at all. I think that's been misrepresented, to be honest.
Well, no, they've measured it. They've measured it.
Okay, they can measure it, but what I'm saying is, if
you're always giving me these facts from much more dodgy surveys than this one.
No. If you say, it's got 1,500 calories, fine. If you're then going to eat a 1,500 calorie lunch as well and a 1,500 calorie dinner, but if that's your
you wouldn't want to eat it every day, though, would you?
But if that's your main meal of the day, and then you don't have anything except a sandwich in the evening at 7:30 or 8 o'clock, then I think you've got to put it into perspective.
Like a corned beef sandwich.
Corned beef sandwich.
Large breakfast includes 18.3 grams of salt.
Well, you've got to be careful on the salt, although we shouldn't worry about salt as much as we used to, because various surveys I've read in my medical journal say that the scare about don't ingest too much salt in your body is overplayed. Your body needs salt.
Yeah, but you don't need that much salt.
Well, you're probably right.
Guess how much saturated fat it's got? It's got 40.2 grams of saturated fat.
But again, people have had revisionary thoughts about the amount of saturated fat you ingest into the body, and are saying it's not as dangerous as it was at
if you have a double sausage and egg McMuffin at McDonald's, which you might have had from time to time, that only has 12. And that's pretty fatty. So this large breakfast has, practically 4 times that.
Yeah, okay.
That's a lot.
Okay, well, I agree. Those figures sound, fairly alarming, I have to say. But when I have the egg and sausage McMuffin, I have double sausage because I don't eat egg.
Yeah.
And they always give me a double sausage.
So just have a sausage McMuffin with no egg?
Well, I have 2 sausages and, because
sausages and no egg?
Yes, that's right. Because the sausage is not a sausage, it's a sausage pate.
It's a flat sausage,
Yes, that's right, absolutely, yeah.
Patty.
Yeah.
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 Do you have a square sausage in Scotland?
I've had it somewhere.
Lawn sausage,
I've had it somewhere. It's really
good.
Yeah, I've had it somewhere.
I'll make sure you get some next time we go up to Glasgow.
Yeah, good idea.
Excellent plan. Now, Ask Porky's coming up very, very shortly. This is talkSPORT. David has very kindly sent us a picture of an imaginary bar in Bermuda. It's called Docksiders. Looks like a bar to me.
Docksiders?
Docksiders.
Yeah?
He says it's an imaginary bar in Bermuda.
Imaginary bar?
Well, you said there weren't any bars.
Well, I'm sure there are, but I mean, most of them are hotel bars.
Well, I can't believe that you went to Bermuda and you didn't find a bar.
Well,
I don't believe.
I tell you, who was there in Bermuda at the same time. Another run-in with him was Jon Snow.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Was this after the first run-in you had?
I'm not sure whether it was first or after. But what happened was, it was a very tragic story. One of these tall ships, which was in the round the world race, and it's crewed by students.
Oh yeah,
went down off Bermuda.
Oh, is this the one that was like the Duke of Edinburgh Award type thing?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Bermuda Triangle. It just went down, and it was a very tragic story. When it hit it from behind, so powerful, it tipped the ship forward, and it went down like a submarine. And the thing is, the most tragic thing is, they never found a body or anything. You know what I mean? They were taken by the sea.
Well, it's very, very choppy out there.
Oh, it was Bermuda Triangle stuff. And Jon Snow was out there with his TV people. I don't really come from New York, I suppose. I don't know. Or it might have come from London.
Maybe Washington.
Oh, Washington, yeah. And we were all in the same hotel after the day's work, you know, because we got there early and it finished late. We were there for about 2 or 3 days waiting for something to happen, but they never found any remains or bodies or anything, you know.
Right.
And he's sitting there with his people, and a guy comes over and says, excuse me, Mr. Snow? He said, yes. He said, I have a telephone call for you at the reception. He said, oh, who is it? He said, well, I think it might be your office in London. Oh, what? Well, I've given them everything we've got. I mean, I can't believe that they're bothering me now. We're going for dinner. Anyway, he goes off. No, seriously, he goes off. Then he comes back, and then he comes back in the room, and from that side of the room where he walked in, and his lot was sitting right over in the other corner,
Right.
He just said very nonchalantly, OK, panic over, fellas. Just the blinking aerograms from London.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I thought that was a story you've already told me, though. So I didn't know about the other. I didn't know about the other run-in you had with him.
Well, no, the one in the hotel when we were on the campaign trail.
Yeah, no, I know you told us that one because I've heard that one before. I thought that was why you didn't like it, because he was sort of bumming it up.
No,
it wasn't.
No, it's because in the on the campaign trail with him, he was looking for his mate from the Times, and he bumped into me, and I said, "No, he's not here." I said, "I saw him in New York this morning. He's not come till tomorrow." I said, "Should we go and have a drink?" He said, "No, I don't think so." He didn't like tabloid journalists. Yeah.
I don't blame him.
Yeah.
He probably heard your stories about Whitley Bay and getting people into a lot of trouble finding out with local police.
I don't think so.
Hey, by the way, somebody just reminded me, because I think it was Stephen who just tweeted me, because I meant to mention this to you when we were talking about Hillary Clinton. You've seen this theory that the body double was something that they used at the 9/11 memorial. That can't be right.
It's unbelievable.
I mean, it's only a theory at this point.
It can't be true. I can't believe she's got a body. And funny enough about body doubles, only the start of this week or the end of last week, it was revealed that Poldark has a body double, and that half the time, the bloke galloping around on the horse on the cliffs of Cornwall is not Aidan Turner.
Has he got a chest double as well, then? Or is that definitely him?
No, I don't think he's got a chest double, but he's definitely got a bloke in the long coat with the, what you call the triangular hat, that he wears.
Right.
He's galloping around, and you only see the back of him or the side of him.
Well, that's what I kept saying to you, because I mean, I didn't bother watching it this Sunday, because there was so much of that. They'd cut to this guy on the back of a horse running away from the camera on top of a cliff. It's like, well, how many times can you show that? It's the same bit of footage. It's the same bloody cliff, same bloody horse, and apparently a different bloke.
Now, here's something else I want to tell you, right?
Yeah.
I love this because I'm fascinated with this character.
Yeah.
Now, on this day, which is September
the 14th.
The 14th, Guess who was born in 1914?
No idea.
It was the man who played the Lone Ranger.
Oh, yeah.
And his name was Clayton Moore.
Clayton Moore?
Yeah, and I loved...
From the original TV show?
From the original TV show, the black and white one. Yeah. I loved the Lone Ranger, didn't you?
Well, not really.
I did.
It was slightly before my time. I remember watching it, but I never thought for 1 minute that it was particularly brilliant. My sort of... My preferred Bonanza, to be honest.
Well, Bonanza I thought was great. I agree.
And the High Chaparral.
Well, the High Chaparral was ridiculous.
I liked the High Chaparral.
One woman living on the High Chaparral Ranch with 300 men and a load of marauding, Native Americans.
Banditos.
Yeah.
Because were they not supposed to be near Mexico?
Yeah, that's right. They're on the Mexican border and all that kind of stuff. And she always looked like Miss World. Yeah. She was walking around the ranch.
Well, she was very glamorous.
Yeah, she was
very
glamorous.
Why I liked it.
Yeah, Victoria.
Do you know the guy that played the old, not the father, but the old brother? Because there was Balloon Boy.
That's right,
the young guy.
Yeah.
And what was the old brother's name?
Oh, I don't know.
Because he used to live in Hampstead.
Oh,
that's one of the reasons I used to like watching it, because he used to come into Louis.
Was he an American?
Yeah, he was American.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
No, he lived in Hampstead. And he used to always walk around in leather gear, which wasn't particularly S&M-like, but it was very unusual in those days. Because you'd see this guy, and he wore this kind of almost leather cowboy outfit, walked around Hampstead.
Yeah,
he used to come in for tea.
I know the guy exactly you mean. Yeah,
what was his name?
Big John's brother.
Yeah.
He's Big John here.
A very craggy face.
Yeah, very craggy face. But Big John was the guy who ran the High Chaparral Ranch. Yeah. But it's a pretty. But anyway, look, the Lone Ranger. It says here. It says the star of the Lone Ranger, Clayton Moore, the first ever Western series made for TV. No, the reason they got him was because they wanted somebody who could leap on and off horses and all this kind of stuff. And in fact, before becoming the Lone Ranger...
So was he like an old stuntman or something like that?
Well, this guy he didn't just ride around on horses, he used to stand on horses in a circus act.
Okay. Right.
And the horses, you've seen him in a circus galloping around, he's standing on the saddle and all that kind of stuff,
Well, they usually have two, don't they?
Yeah, they usually have two, yeah. And he was a stuntman as well. And he went for the interview, and the producer, George W. Trendle, said, would you like the role of the Lone Ranger? And Mr. Moore replied, I am going to be the Lone Ranger. And he was the Lone Ranger. Now, the reason I liked the Lone Ranger was because he was like the sort of... what they adopted it from? They adopted and adapted it from the English Robin Hood series.
Oh, did they?
Take from the
who
rich...
was Tonto in Robin Hood, then?
Little John.
Oh, right.
Or Will Green.
Okay.
Or whatever. Was it Will Green?
Will Green, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was.
I'm not an expert on Robin Hood.
No, Robin Hood's and his merry men was Robin Hood, Little John... And
Maid Marian,
Friar Tuck,
yeah,
and Will Green.
Was it Will Green?
It was Will Green, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was his band. Anyway, so the idea was that the Lone Ranger would... In fact, that's where I got the expression, the seeker of truth and justice from.
Really?
Because that's
Is that what he was?
Yeah, he was. He was a seeker of
truth and justice. Did he say that in the show?
No, he never said it, but somebody else, like the judge something, said, the Lone Ranger truly is the seeker of truth and justice, and all this kind of stuff. So he would go around, but the thing I keep trying to tell people, and nobody's ever caught on to this, is that the Lone Ranger, he used to go around... Tonto was his sidekick. He was a Native American. Right. Yeah. And his horse was called Hi-Ho Silver.
Hi-Ho Silver, away, he used to say,
that's right, because at the start of the show, at the end of the show... The horse would rear up and Lone Ranger would be on it. Hi-ho, Silver, away.
Right.
It was brilliant.
So what did he actually do, the Lone Ranger?
Well, he galloped round sort of... If there was a gang of bank robbers or people who robbed trains, what would happen was they'd rob the train or the bank and then... The Lone Ranger would gallop after them and get the money back.
Yeah, but that wasn't really like Robin Hood then, was it?
Well, it was.
If he was like Robin Hood, he would have taken the money and then given it to the poor.
Well, he did then, I think. I think he got it back.
Did he give it back to the bank?
No, I don't know. I think he didn't. I think he said that the farmers had all been sort of ripped off.
Oh, okay.
So he gave it back to them, and he would right wrongs basically. He was a kind of modern day. Well, he was. I suppose he was the cowboy equivalent. No, of Superman, you know what I mean? Right. He would go and put things right and all that. But I was used to say that the greatest thing about being the Lone Ranger was it would be so easy to work undercover in disguise. All you'd have to do was take off your mask.
Well, yeah, I suppose so. But the mask wasn't really very good, was it? It didn't cover much of his face.
No, but the point is, if you take off if you're the Lone Ranger, you take off your mask and you go into, like a saloon bar looking for a dirty, low-down, murdering bum, you know what I mean?
But the point of being with the mask is so that nobody knows your identity, surely.
Well, that is absolutely true. But what I'm saying is, if you walked into the saloon bar with your mask on, people would look at you and say, there's the Lone Ranger.
Yeah, that's true.
In fact, they might even shoot you.
That's true.
Because you might have in the past
upset somebody.
Or taken them to justice, something like that.
Yeah.
So the best way to do it would be to take your mask off, walk into the saloon bar, and then you're in disguise.
Yes.
Because nobody knows you're the Lone Ranger, do they?
That's true.
You see what I mean?
Yeah, but then that kind of defeats... It doesn't make for a very good TV show, does it?
Well, no, it doesn't make for a good TV show, but if you're the Lone Ranger, you'd stay alive a lot longer.
Didn't Johnny Depp make a movie of the Lone Ranger recently?
It was a disaster.
Not particularly well received.
It was an absolute disaster, the whole film. And I think Johnny Depp's a great actor, and obviously he's made many great films.
Yeah.
I mean, he's made some very serious films, hasn't he? What was that one he made with Al Pacino about the mob?
Oh, yeah, Donnie Brasco.
Fantastic undercover cop.
Really good, yeah.
And they
True story.
That's right. They smashed up the manager of the Japanese restaurant because he wanted him to take his shoes off and he wouldn't. Yeah,
Quite a few people are correcting you on the Will Green front.
Oh, yeah.
It's Will Scarlett.
Will Scarlett, that's right. Yeah. Will Scarlett, thank you.
One of those from Hey Paulie. Another one from Ian.
Yeah, okay, yeah, thanks very much.
And apparently the High Chaparral actor, according to Rob, was Cameron Mitchell.
Was
he not called Buck? Was he Buck?
I think he was Buck. I think it was.
That was him. He lived in Hampstead.
He lived in Hampstead, yeah.
You should see him every weekend.
You see him every weekend, that's great. But, old Lone Ranger, I thought it was brilliant. The film with Johnny Depp was in it. It went all went wrong because he was too big a star to be the co-star, you see what I mean?
Right.
If you see what I mean.
What, to be the Lone Ranger?
Well, I can't remember. No, he wasn't the Lone Ranger. He was Tonto.
Oh, was he?
I can't remember who the Lone Ranger was. Neither can anybody else. But he apparently he was in. I read this. He walked around with a stuffed crow on his head.
What?
he walked around with a stuffed crow on his head as Tonto.
As Tonto, did he?
The Native American. He put a stuffed crow on his head. And apparently he was literally browsing through a junk shop, antiques shop or something like that, somewhere in Connecticut or somewhere like that, when he saw this stuffed thing. And he thought, because he'd just been signed up for the role, he thought, I'll wear that on my head. And it was his idea.
Right.
And
they didn't say no.
Well, you don't say no to Johnny Depp. When you say, this is how I'm going to play it, they say, oh, this is genius, you know? But in fact, nobody could make out what it was all about.
Right.
Yeah.
There we are.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the Lone Ranger, because we're nearly out of time again.
Indeed.
We've got to do Ask Porky. We've got some sports headlines coming up. Some questions about money and all that kind of thing.
Yes.
So we've got loads and loads of great questions, actually, coming in, both on Facebook and on Twitter. So we'll start with a few of the shorter ones, okay? Because one of the first things I'm going to say, I don't think you can do this, but one person who calls himself Two Mike's fan says, could you do each answer in a different voice, i.e. Dyche, Rodgers, O'Neill, Van Hal, McLaren?
Well,
I'm not sure you can really
honest,
do that.
it would just confuse everybody. And the idea is to go through rapid fire and give as many answers as I can without concentrating on the accents.
Yes, exactly right. Now, let's start with Damien, who's got a travel question. He says, I want to visit London from Los Angeles this year. What would be a perfect 3-day plan?
A perfect 3-day plan, in my view, would be to get yourself into a Thameside hotel, i.e. that's one that overlooks the river, because you would love that. Then get yourself into somewhere in Windsor for Windsor Castle to pick up the heritage of this country, which is absolutely brilliant and marvellous, and you'd love it. And then on your 3rd day, before you go home, get into London city centre and get stuck into the nightlife. That would be a perfect 3 days.
OK. Here's one from John on Facebook. Dear Porky, what is the solution to stay up until the early hours while still being able to sleep until a reasonable time, i.e. not getting up too late, and still function during the day?
Well, the absence of alcohol helps in that particular procedure, and I mean that quite seriously. I mean, if you go and get bladderated, you're going to get dozy and you need sleep, OK? Don't think that it perks you up and then you can do things like Superman in the early hours of the morning as you're sipping more and more wine. It doesn't work like that, and it'll finish off for the rest of the night. I can operate easily on 4 hours sleep in a 24-hour period, no problem at all, providing I don't go on the grog, and lack of bladeration is a good thing.
OK. Rich says this, Dear Porky, how should I convince other people to do things they don't want to do? Which is quite vague, I know.
Yeah, well, to be honest, compromise is always a very good thing, and sometimes if you think that there's something that you don't want somebody to do, I think it's better to negotiate with them without them knowing you're negotiating. For instance, something's put to me and somebody wants me to do it, say it's in a work environment, something like that. I've given up the days when I'd say, no, not doing it, don't want to do it. And I now say, it's a brilliant idea. I think I can improve upon it. And then you turn it round and shape it to the way that you feel most comfortable with, because that makes everybody happy. Yourself doing it and the person who's put up the idea not having it rejected.
OK. Mark says this, Porky, if Everton finish outside the top 4, which pier will you jump off?
Well, I don't think Everton will finish outside the top 4, but if they were to finish outside the top 4, it wouldn't be pier jumping time. You can't jump off piers in this country anymore, as I proved down in Bournemouth. It would be a period of reflection. But I have to say, I'll be very, very disappointed if we don't make the top 4 this season.
OK. David says this, Dear Porky, it's my driving test on Thursday. Any advice on how to pass properly, or maybe use rat-like cunning to convince the examiner to let me pass anyway?
I have to say that the only way to pass a driving test is, it doesn't matter if you've had 30 lessons, 40 lessons, 50 lessons or whatever, the lessons are not what will get you through a driving test. What gets you through a driving test is familiarity with the road, i.e. spend as much time as you can driving around in your car with your mum or your dad or your brother or sister or somebody in the other seat, just to get familiar with the road and get road sense and road knowledge, and so that things like, putting your foot on the clutch if it's a manual car, when you're slowing down, indicating, looking in the mirror, all become as natural to you as walking does. That's the secret. More hours in the car and plenty more before you test.
Ross has a big problem. He says, MG, I need Porky to answer this desperately. Me and my friend Pete are Thursday bladderation friends. He had recently met a girl and we both have a day off on this Thursday and we're planning on a daytime bladderation session involving a bit of golf and then boozing into the evening. But he's recently informed me that he's now planning on seeing the girl instead. Yeah. Please ask Porky to advise what my friend Pete should do, as we are both big listeners to the show.
Well, as I get it here, your mate's going off and on a date with a lady instead of getting involved with you all day. You've got to let him go. Remember the old Cliff Richard song, Goodbye Sam, hello Samantha, goodbye Lou,
I don't remember that.
hello Louise.
No.
Yeah, it's about the moments moment in your life. It's the moment in your life when you sort of start breaking away from your mates and getting interested in women, and it comes to us all. What I would say is, let your mate go. And then, next time he'll either say, it was a great day out with my lady friend, my girlfriend, whatever you want to call her.
Doxy?
No, that's a bit unkind.
Well, that's what you've referred to women as in the past.
No, I don't think I have. Or he might say, do you know what, it was nice and all that, but I do prefer the day out with the golf. There's no shame in saying, a great day out is a day with your mates playing golf and getting bladderated. On another day, certainly get romantic and take out your girlfriend.
Indeed. Now, this is another one of a similar ilk, and this is from Nobosh, who says, my mate and I...
Nobosh?
Nobosh is his name on Facebook.
Oh, I see.
Nobosh Scooby. My mate and I are going to Whitley Bay on the 24th and staying in the York House Hotel.
Yes.
Our dilemma is, do I make the day and night of it and get bladderated, or do the decent thing and go home to the girlfriend on the Sunday, all fresh, and treat her to some bladderation and possibly Rodgerisation?
Well, what I would do is what I've always done in these situations, is don't make any promises and don't make any arrangements for the Sunday. You never know what's going to happen on Saturday night. That's the point. And you've got to remember, if it's a one-off and you're going up there, it could be a fantastic experience, and you may well curtail what could be a classic weekend by making arrangements in advance. I think what you have to do is you have to say, look, you probably won't see me now until Sunday evening, but I'll see how it goes when I get there. I'll give you a call. Communications these days are much better than they were in my day, so you can always adjust things throughout the weekend.
Now, Mike says this, Porky, is there any truth in the rumour that you've been approached to host the Great British Bake Off now that those boring women are jacking it in?
Well, I've never watched the Bake Off, so I wouldn't know anything about it. I've never seen the two ladies who I understand are pulling out now because it's left the BBC. I couldn't get involved in a show like that. One thing I've learnt in life is when you start trying to get involved in things you know nothing about, you will hit trouble. Believe me, you'll either hit financial trouble, you'll hit professional trouble, you'll embarrass yourself, or you'll make yourself unhappy. Stick with what you know.
OK. How about this one, which is a rather kind of, I would say, philosophical one, but because of your knowledge, you may be able to answer. It's from Demarcus. He says, what can men learn from drakes?
Men can learn from drakes. Now, drakes, I think we're talking about ducks and drakes here, aren't we?
I assume so, yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't know the answer to that. I mean, I am a member of a duck conservancy, and we don't really specify between ducks and drakes. I mean, they live as families, and the little ducklings come along in spring, and we look after them, all that kind of stuff. All I would say is they have a very defensive policy towards their family. If you get anywhere near them and you're threatening their little ones, you'll know about it. And swans are even more defensive towards their little ones. They go around drowning ducks and drakes if they think they get too close to theirs. All I'd say is be a protective father, but don't be overbearing.
Now, here's one which, again, is quite serious from Matthew. Please, could you ask Porky this? Without religion, would the world be a safer place?
That's a very difficult question because there never will be a world without religion. People are born into this world and they will always question where did they come from, what is the inspiration for their life, what was the source of creation for their life, and for that reason that will always happen. What I would say is in every possible aspect of religion, please have toleration and understanding for those who don't follow your religion but follow others.
OK, here's one from Gary. I know you don't drink champagne, at least not since the last time, but I can't decide over whether to buy Moet or Dom Perignon, even though they are owned by the same company, and Dom is usually the best. As a man of the people, I thought you were best placed to advise on such.
Well, I always like Moet Chandon because I think it must have been one of the early ones that I drank. It's not that expensive, but there's no doubt about it. If you want to flash yourself up, if you want to be impressive, if you want that little extra added sparkle to your evening, telling somebody you're getting a bottle of Dom in, Dom Perignon, is a winner.
It is a bit flash at times, though. Yeah. Here's one from Neil. If I left you and old MG in a room with my attractive wife, which one of you would pursue her for horizontal refreshment?
Well, neither of us, because we have respect for ladies, and particularly if they are assigned to another person in this world, another man, the wife of somebody.
Well, it's never stopped you before.
No, we wouldn't under any circumstances get involved in any of the smutty sort of rumpy-pumpy, horizontal refreshment, Rodgerisation approaches. Right. Believe me.
Matthew says this. Can you please recommend a good lawyer? Inspired by one of your nuggets of advice last week, I did indeed try to impress a prospective employer by kicking their door in and smashing their windows. Unfortunately, though, I'm now up in front of the beak charged with criminal damage.
Yeah, well, you haven't been the smarter than the average bear. You haven't been smarter than the average bear, mate. When we say kicking the door down, what I mean is never take no for an answer. Just keep pushing and pushing and pushing until the door opens, OK? Excuse me, if you've physically gone round and destroyed somebody's property, then I'm sorry, you deserve all you get. You're a thug and a villain.
OK, one final one from Two Mike's Unofficial.
Yes.
After the Cinnamon Challenge success, 25 million hits, is Mike Parry's next challenge eating various chilies?
No, I'll never eat a chili because, quite frankly, it'd burn my throat off, and I'd have a distinctly bad reaction to my system, my digestive system. The Cinnamon Challenge was a one-off. I'm glad that it's brought so much pleasure to so many people around the world, and we'll still be talking about it in a couple of years' time, and it'll probably be up to 50 million. But what MG and I will be doing by then, we don't know. But we'll be doing something good.
Possibly
I can assure you.
throttling each other.
Exactly.
You never know. That was Ask Porky. The Porky quiz is coming up, of course, on Thursday. We've got to pick a subject for that. And it's tomorrow night is Porky Vision. This is talkSPORT.
The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on talkSPORT and Talk Radio.
Goodbye, Sam. Hello, Samantha. Goodbye, Sam. Hello, Samantha. Sam, I'm leaving the gang, so don't come around for me on Sunday.
This is talkSPORT. We are the Two Mics. Lincoln says this: the Lone Ranger character was inspired by a deputy U.S. Marshal named Bass Reeves.
Bass Reeves?
Did you know that?
No.
I didn't know that.
No.
And James
well,
says...
hang on. How long ago was he a deputy marshal?
Well, presumably before the show was ever written.
Well, he didn't gallop round on a horse, did he?
Well, he would have done, yeah.
No, the marshals, as we know them today, like, the state marshals, the guys in the...
yeah, but hang on, this guy was born in 1914, right? So,
yeah.
I mean, the show was probably started to be made or thought about or the stories maybe in the 40s or something.
Yeah, well, in the 30s probably, or something like that.
There were still marshals on horses, I bet,
there
in
weren't.
the 30s.
No.
Not everybody had a car.
You know the John Dillinger era? That was when the cops first got motorised, okay?
Yeah, right.
That was 1910, 1911, 1912, wasn't it?
But not everyone had a car, though. I mean, wealthy people had a car, but if you lived in somewhere like Arizona, I bet you still went around over on a horse.
Not the cops, because the villains would have had cars. So
well,
the
I mean, they would. I mean, like the Mounties did for a long time up in Canada.
But that was because of the distinct nature of the geography they were working with.
That's
They
what
were
I'm talking
literally
about.
having to gallop up and down mountains.
But that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but
well,
I mean,
not mountains, but big areas of rural,
forests
nothingness.
and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, like in parts of Arizona and New Mexico back in the beginning of the century, I bet you there weren't any roads.
No, probably not. But I'd be very surprised they'd gallop around horses. But anyway, it's nice to know. Thanks for that bit of history.
James says, did Porky also take Count Dracula out for a few bevies while in Whitley Bay, Dracula's favourite English resort years ago, according to James?
Really? I wonder what he means by that.
Well, maybe Bram Stoker.
Bram Stoker,
had Dracula visit Whitley Bay.
Yeah, maybe he did, yeah. Although I have to say, I never picked up on that when I was living there.
No, I'm quite surprised about that. Now, what about the quiz coming up on Thursday?
Well, look, I tell you what, because she's subject of so much speculation at the moment, it's such a fascinating story. Hillary Clinton, I've been on the campaign trail with the Clintons, so why don't we do it on the Clintons?
The Clintons, OK.
Yes,
I don't think we've done that before. No. John behind the glass tells me that Dracula starts in Whitley Bay.
Oh, really?
The book actually opens in Whitley Bay.
Is that right? Bram Stoker's book?
Spends quite a lot of time there, yeah.
Excellent, yeah. Well, I'm glad to know that. Thank you very much indeed.
There you go.
I'll be on my toes. Don't worry about that.
Basil says this: the real Lone Ranger was an African American lawman who lived with Native American Indians.
Really?
Yeah. But that's a piece that somebody's written on a blog called politicalblindspot.com.
Oh, I see. Well, we don't know too much about that one.
Well, I don't know. That's his picture.
That's right. Now, we've spoken a bit about Rafa, haven't we, getting that 6-goal lead. What we haven't spoken about this week, actually, I think is very interesting, is Gary Neville's whinge and moan that he's been dropped by the FA.
I tried to tell you about this the other night, but you didn't seem terribly interested.
No, I am very interested, because I said to you, I believe that if Gary Neville wanted to be the next Dalai Lama, because he is a man of such determination and talent, I believed he could be.
Yes, but I think
he's had a few reversals.
Well, I think he has, and you might remember that I said to you many moons ago that after his, lack of success at Valencia, that it would be very difficult for him to come back and be a pundit in the same way that he had been before he went.
Sure.
Because before he went, everybody hung on his every word. They thought he was the best pundit that anyone had ever seen about anything. He was very honest. He was very talented at it. He was very good on TV. But he's now come back to be a pundit and said he can't be a coach anymore. But he can't be seen in the same light, can he?
Well, I don't think I've seen him on TV since he came back. Now, the interesting thing is, his show, his showcase show, so to speak, was Monday Night Football on Sky. Now, of course, the Monday Night Football this week was Everton and Sunderland, at Sunderland Everton. So they had Jamie Carragher.
Jamie Carragher does it every week, right?
Yeah. They had the guy, the neutral guy who hosts the show. Yeah. Who was that? I can't remember who that was. But it doesn't matter. But the second pundit, well, I can't remember who it was. It was somebody related to Sunderland or Everton. It wasn't Gary Neville.
Another footballer.
Oh, it was his brother Phil.
Oh, it was
because Phil, of course, was captain of Everton for 6 seasons. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So is he back out of Valencia now as well then?
Yeah, he is, yes, yeah.
Right.
But he speaks fluent Spanish.
Does
That's
he?
what he got out of it.
Well, one of the things Gary said,
Yeah.
was it not, was that he didn't succeed because he didn't learn Spanish well enough.
Well enough or quick enough.
Yeah.
But I think Phil was out there before him and got going on the lessons more quickly.
Yeah.
But Phil was very good because, Phil had all the insight to Everton and all that kind of stuff. So,
But he hasn't done and achieved quite what Gary has he? In terms of with Manchester United or with England.
Well, funny you should say that, but you wouldn't believe this. Although Phil was at Everton for 9 seasons, and he was captain in all. Was it 9 seasons? 9. He still won 6 Premier League titles with Manchester United.
Yeah.
So he couldn't have been Everton 9 seasons. I think he was Everton 6 seasons and United 6 seasons.
Yeah.
But he won 6 Premier League titles.
But he wasn't as a successful footballer, I would say, as his brother, was he?
That's pretty successful, isn't
Well,
it?
of
6
course it
Premier
is,
League
yeah.
titles. He won over 50 England caps.
But what I'm saying is compared to Gary.
You're right, but it's by margins.
Yeah.
Any footballer in the world over the last 100 years would have said 6 league titles pretty good. Can you imagine being the Neville's parents, by the way? I know his dad, sadly, Neville, I think died last year, didn't he?
Yeah.
Which is very sad, but there's their mum and all that. But I mean, even when
And they've got a sister as well, I think, who's an athlete, haven't they?
No, she is now the England netball coach.
Oh, right, okay.
I mean,
she was not a player, though, as well?
Yes, she was. She was a great netball player,
Yeah.
and then she went into coaching at a local level.
Right.
And now she's been made the England netball coach. And the thing is, I was thinking, when his dad was alive, sadly he's gone now, and his mum was like, can you imagine them going to Wembley and watching both their sons line up for England, and then next week they were there watching their daughter play netball for England? What a family.
I know.
Quite amazing.
Incredible stuff.
Quite amazing.
How about this from Scott? He says, we got the figures for Christmas. My brother got Lone Ranger, and I got
Yes.
Tonto and his horse Scout. Happy days.
His horse Scout?
Tonto's horse.
Oh, Tonto's horse. Oh, Tonto had a horse as well, did he?
Well, of course he had a horse.
No, I didn't know that. I
What,
thought
do you think he just ran around next to him?
Yeah, I did, yeah. No, that's what Native Americans did.
No, they had horses.
No, they could run 30 miles in a day.
Well, he didn't run next to a horse.
Easy.
No, he did not run next to a horse.
Yeah,
what
but
on earth are you watching?
No.
Of course he had his own horse.
No, I don't think he did. You see, the way it used to work is that, hi-ho, Silver, away!
Well, he just left Tonto behind.
Well, no, because of the nature of the, the topography, the landscape in which they worked, the Lone Ranger would normally gallop towards the villains. You see what I mean?
Right.
Boldly, with his rifle in his on his horse saddle and all this kind of stuff, and go up and challenge them. And meanwhile, what Tonto would normally do would have.
Sorry, Johnny Depp with that ridiculous crow.
Oh, yeah, it's ridiculous, isn't it? Yeah. What Tonto would normally do is Tonto would climb up the cliffs, right, and come round the back. You see what I mean?
Right.
So whilst the Lone Ranger was there confronting 4, really nasty villains, who were all sort of, threatening to blow him away and all that kind of stuff.
Well, there's the Lone Ranger and Tonto on their horses.
Oh, I see. Tonto
from the
has got a
TV
horse.
show.
Yeah, I see. Yeah. Well, I think he occasionally had a horse. He had one of
They
those.
always had to have a horse.
He had one of those Native American horses, which were called the Dappler or something.
He's thinking about the Palomino.
The Palomino. Are they brown and white?
Yes.
Yeah, that's it.
He did. He had a Palomino.
Yeah. Palomino.
There it is in colour.
Yeah, that's
the Lone Ranger's horse was white.
Ah,
even though it was called Silver.
Yeah, there you
just
go.
to confuse
Silver,
you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Why do you call it Silver if it was white?
But you see what I mean? If you took his mask off, you wouldn't know who he was, would you? Well, you wouldn't.
Well, I don't know who he is anyway.
No, exactly. But you
no. Well, I mean, if he was wearing that kind of ridiculous blue outfit, although I know it was in black and white in the early days, and a white hat. Yeah. And a thing around his neck, you'd probably recognise him.
I wonder why they told him to put a mask on in the first place. It's a good idea because, of course, it made him very distinctive.
Yes,
didn't it?
Well, it did.
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, then, what was I going to tell you? Did you know? Because I didn't.
We're nearly out of time, you know.
I know, nearly out of time. Somebody sent me a message. There's a Manchester United fan.
Oh yeah.
Telling me, I'm not sure if this is true or not. But I will accept it from a fan. On this day in 1963, George Best made his debut for Manchester United. United won 1-0. They played West Brom at Old Trafford. I didn't know that.
Really?
But that's amazing, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely
Sort of amazing. Yeah.
Here's one from Phil the Cow in Manchester. Dracula was supposed to have landed at Whitby, not Whitley Bay.
Oh, yes.
Planks.
Yes.
Well, I'm not sure if that's true either.
Sorry, say that again. He's supposed to have landed where?
Landed at Whitby.
Oh, Whitby.
Not Whitley Bay.
Yeah, well, I think that's more likely Whitby in North Yorkshire because that is a place where ships go into. Ships don't go into Whitley Bay unless they're lost.
Yeah.
It's like a holiday
Well, he might have
resort.
got lost. He was Dracula. He was in a coffin. He wasn't actually navigating at the time.
I must admit, I've not kept up with the development of Whitley Bay over the last sort of 25 years.
Well, if you're going to go back there claiming it's some kind of homecoming, I think you better do some
I better
reading
find
up
out.
on it.
But I mean,
because I've seen pictures of the Playhouse,
yes,
which now looks like a very modern building.
That's right.
But I've also seen older pictures of the older Playhouse, which looks like a building that was kind of slightly dilapidated in the 60s, maybe.
Well, the place in Whitley Bay used to be Spanish City. Now that was like an amusement arcade.
Spanish City.
Yes, it's called Spanish City.
Why?
Well, it was an amusement arcade personified. If you see what I mean, it was like Rill, I suppose, in North Wales, or
great,
or Prestatyn.
I've been to Rill.
They
like Rill. We're all in trouble.
But I think that got knocked down quite a few years ago. Spanish City.
Well, Rill.
No. Rill hasn't been knocked down yet. They're still waiting to do that.
Yeah, it just looks like it has.
Yeah, it looks like it has. Yeah. And I think you'll find it's all been a lot of investment's gone into it over the years, and it's now a pretty smart sort of a place. Yeah. In my view.
Now there's something I have to tell you. I can't believe I've forgotten to tell you until this moment. But you do realise that I predicted that PSG and Arsenal would be a draw last night, don't you?
I do. In fact,
why have you not congratulated me?
Well, because I think it was the easiest prediction of the night, really.
Well, it wasn't, because you didn't get it right. You said that PSG were going to win.
I didn't. I said Arsenal were going to win 2-0.
Right.
But I didn't go for the draw because, to be perfectly honest, it was so obvious that it was probably going to end up as a draw. I didn't want to bore the audience.
Well, since we're at that place, with only a minute or so to go, would you like to give us your predictions for tonight's action?
That's a good idea.
Club Bruges against Leicester.
Yeah, Leicester. It's at Bruges, isn't it?
It is.
All the Leicester fans are travelling over there.
You ever been to Bruges?
Yes, I have.
Have you?
Yeah.
I was there as a kid. I seem to remember it stank.
Yeah.
It's a high heaven.
Really?
There's a lot of canals running through it.
Is there? I don't remember that. I remember good food restaurants and all that kind of stuff. That will be a draw, and I will go for 1-1.
I think you might be right.
Yeah.
I'm going to go for. I think I'm going to go for a Leicester win. Actually, 2-1. Just to make it slightly different. Manchester City, which you predicted was going to be a win for City last night.
Yes.
Probably will still be a win for City,
it will be.
right?
Still be a win.
So you want to stick with that one?
Yeah.
Any other games tonight you want to have a look at?
Well, the other one is, who is it? It's
Tottenham Monaco.
Tottenham Monaco, that's the one at Wembley. That'd be a great game. I would say Tottenham are in fine shape at the moment, and I think they'll win 3-1.
OK, I think that might be 2-2. So we'll revisit that. We'll be back at 1 o'clock tomorrow.
Look at the light!
Don't forget to follow the Two Mics at the Two Mics on Twitter and on YouTube. Just look for Two Mics TV. What you did in the bath?
I was in there. We had a visit.
So you just went in the bath?
Yeah, absolutely.
Was there any water in it?
Yes, of course there was. Yeah.
So you just took your clothes off and got in the bath?
No. We were doing things there. There were all sorts of things. It was prior to the cup final, and we were messing around at Wembley. Simple as that.
Really?
Yeah. Don't worry about it.
What do you wear when you go in the bath then? With other people?
No, a pair of shorts, of course.
Shorts?
Yes. We have to stay in Manchester for the one extra night, If
you love the Two Mics podcast, you'll love the live show. Weekday overnights from 1am on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM and via the talkSPORT app. talkSPORT, your Premier League station with exclusive commentaries every weekend.
What an absolute corker!
talkSPORT.
Well, you suggested you're now in the same area as Kant.
Excuse me.
Immanuel Kant.
Oh, I've never heard of him. I'm sorry about that. Rather shocked me, though. I thought you'd lost the